40 years ago, the Daytona 500 was broadcast live in its entirety on national television for the very first time. That fateful race in 1979 set the tone for NASCAR, influencing generations of fans and drivers. A thrilling finish with a controversial wreck for the lead and a surprise winner, it remains a historic moment not just in racing, but in all of sports broadcasting. For this reason, it might seem as though the Majors has a high bar to stand up to. But from what we've seen over the past few years of covering this wild championship, I expect nothing less than the same sort of excitement and unpredictability. It's time for the drivers to strap in and make their own history as we get ready to watch the Majors Daytona 500, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth tonight is Bill Soup Zahn. Next to him is our resident oval expert, Nick Schmeg. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Ducky Beard. Nick, this is certainly a track that has changed the face of American racing. Tell us about the legendary Daytona Superspeedway.
Legendary indeed, Joe. The high banks of Daytona light up this time of year, both in the real world and the sim racing world. In the real world, Daytona International Speedway's famous high 31-degree banks play host to the annual tradition of the Daytona 500, stock car racing's most prestigious race. At 2.5 miles long, this tri-oval superspeedway has seen some of the most famous automobile racing in our sport's history. 2 United States presidents have even served as grand marshals for the Daytona 500, and those aren't the only big names that this event attracts to the Sunshine State every year. Speeds of well over 200 miles an hour and drivers taking it 3 wide at times are just pieces to the 500-mile spectacle we are about to see. Another key factor to Daytona is the big one. While Daytona allows drivers of varying skill sets at a shot for victory, many of the drivers are going into this race tonight with the sole goal of not wanting to get caught up in the inevitable multi-car pileups that most superspeedway races often see. All of the drivers' heads are going to be spinning in circles, literally, for 200 laps. But Soup, don't forget, we still have points involved in this thing.
We do, and the points are kind of interesting to look at. Now, remember, since it was a multi-class race the first time out at Daytona, you basically have 3 winners, 3 fourth-place finishers, 3 seventh-place finishers. So when we look at the points, we're only going to show you the guys who won in their classes. You can see Paul Darling, Blake Reynolds, and Alex Saunders. Those guys are all tied with 458 points. 66 points back for the next set and finish second, and then you get the idea. Let's go ahead and look at the team championships now. This is a little interesting. Each team is comprised of 5 drivers, and you score points how they do. 1,108 points is what the top team got. That's V Apex Racing Group. That's the American group. You can see the drivers that are part of that one as well. You see Saunders was a winner, helping that team get there. Riding Shotgun Motorsports, that's the Outlaws. That's their main team. You can see Blake Reynolds got them up into second with his win as well. Now, Alliance Racing has a couple entries. They got the racing team sitting in third and Alliance Core down there in fourth. And finally, Unorthodox Motorsports putting on a good show. Let's quickly go down and look now at the, what I like to call, I guess we're going to look at the sportsmen's next. Now, we look at these guys. You can see that Jimmy Hume, now a lot of these guys didn't make the top split, and they're not going to be here today. He sits there with 254 points, but nevertheless, they can score points for their team, even though they don't make the top split. And talk about the top split, Joe will talk about that in a minute. A lot of big-name drivers not racing with us today. Let's look at the old guys. That's the one that is close to my heart. First thing that I notice is if you're part of Alliance, I guess you qualify for this one. Look at that. Brian Bennett there, Alliance Racing. Alliance Core with Pfeiffer, another one, Alliance Core with Fleming down there, and then in fifth, Lee Peterson, another old-timer. So I guess, I don't know if they have like an age maximum they have to make him, but that seems to go in there. Clark Archer, the only non-Alliance driver racing in fourth for Riding Shotgun Motorsports in the Outlaw 72 back out of the Joe.
Thanks for that, Bill. We've got 500 miles ahead of us, so there's a lot to talk about what is involved in it. It might seem simple from the surface, of course, but it is a lot more than just put your foot to the floor and go. Now, before we get to that, though, we want to give a big thank you to the Majors for once again donating the money that they made from this race towards a charity. Each race they let, I believe it was the previous year's winner. I'll have to double check to make sure that I'm correct on that. But they let them pick who the charity is for each race. In this case, Blake Reynolds chose the Houston SPCA. And they say that for nearly 100 years, the Houston SPCA has been Houston's first and largest animal protection agency in the Gulf Coast region, providing more than a dozen vital services and programs for the community. Their mission is to promote commitment to and respect for all animals and free them from suffering, abuse, and exploitation. If you'd like to help them yourself, you can find them at houstonspca.org. So not only hats off to the majors, but also to Blake Reynolds. I'm a big animal person myself, so that one hits me right in the heart right there. Also, if you love the majors yourself, you can check them out at their store now where you can buy gear. You can find that at pacificmajors.com/store. Also want to give a mention that you're probably realizing by now that you're watching this on the iRacing Esports Network. And if you're doing that, well, we highly encourage you to subscribe to IESN. That's because you can not just find the majors on here, but all the World Championship Series. That includes road, oval, dirt, rallycross, you name it. It is on here on IESN. Make sure that it shows up in your feed by subscribing. Talking about the complexity of these races. And, well, Bill talked about the difficulty of just getting into it in the first place, Nick. I'm looking at some of the names that were missing from this top split. Not only the previous year's, 2 years ago, champion, I should say, of the Drivers Championship, Lionel Callisto, but also won the 2016 race. He's not in here. Richie Hearn drove on ovals in the real world in Indy cars. He's not in here. Adam Young, Kevin O'Keefe, Ryan Worley, Jimbo Pfeiffer. This is some serious names that aren't in here. And I don't think it's due to their lack of speed so much. It just seems like the talent level has gone up in terms of speed and the run up to it, Nick. So, I mean, why is it so tough to find speed around here in qualifying?
The speeds here in qualifying, they're so tight. I mean, they are tenths, hundredths, thousands of seconds apart. And the team effort that really has been put into this has been outstanding to see. So many sim racing exclusive teams joining into this, and you have some of those professional iRacing, the black stripe drivers joining into this. Some of those not even making the top split, and the team racing aspect of this really to try to shave off those tenths of a second, hundredths of a second. The competitiveness, like you said, has just gone way up through the roof recently.
I have the honors of working with Richie Hearn, who, of course, raced many races at Indy in the real world. And he's always talking about bump day. You know, Indy's hard to get into, and he likes it when you get bumped. Well, Richie, you kind of got, what's this phrase, Joe, hoisted on his own petard? Is he got bumped out of this one? No walkovers for participation. You got to earn your way into these events.
Absolutely. These drivers have had to work hard to make the big show, and unfortunately it's caused a few hurt feelings, well, not really hurt feelings, but just some frustrations, I should say, from drivers, just because they've worked very hard and have had to settle for the sportsman splits. But well, we have not just drivers working hard, but a lot of people out there in the world, including people who do car inspections. And if you're in a business where you have to keep track of the condition of a number of vehicles, whether it be rental cars, limousines, construction vehicles, or many other vehicle types, you've got a lot to stay on top of. For people like you, Inspect a Ride is the fastest way to conduct your vehicle inspections and create reports. You can save time, eliminate paper, keep better inspection records, and simplify your life, all from your iPhone, iPad, or Android phone or tablet. You can find out more at inspectoride.com/iRacing. You can even download a free trial to find out if Inspect a Ride is right for you. So we highly encourage you to check it out. Once again, that address is inspectoride.com/iRacing.
You need to incorporate that into like iRacing, so the drivers can inspect their cars to see if they need to take a spare one or not. So you check out the damage on it.
I like that idea. We'll have to talk to the Inspect a Ride people, see if they can get some software for that. Well, we are waiting for the drivers' meeting to finish up. That's why we've got a lot of cars on pit lane right now. This has been a fascinating one in the lead up, but now the big problem with the majors, well, not necessarily a problem, but one of the tricky aspects, I should say, Nick, is that this series has a variety of different racing disciplines that they pit against the drivers. And super speedway racing seems to be one of the very unique ones. And there's been a lot of discussion from the drivers about a lot of the unique situations that you find yourself in, such as the cautions coming out. Even that seems to be causing them problems.
It is interesting, and you have a lot of road racing fanatics in this series that prefer the road racing side of things, but you even have some oval drivers that just don't have a knack for super speedway racing. It's very unique racing, like you said, and it suits some people, it doesn't suit others, and people from both oval racing and road racing backgrounds, they're all thrown at the same challenge tonight, and it's going to be very interesting to see who is able to capitalize on that.
And Joe, one of the problems they were having is actually some of the road racers don't realize you got to get woed up if the yellow comes out. You got to whoa, because they were actually some of the previous races they were running in the backs of the guys under yellow flag.
Well, not just woed up, but I guess woed up the right amount. I guess the inclination for a lot of them sometimes is just hit the brakes, and that doesn't go so well sometimes in these cars. So we'll see if it's a problem out here. They've had quite a bit of practice. They had the duels in the lead up, which actually influenced quite a bit of how this grid lines up. Spots 3 through 24 raced their way into the duels. That's one of the things that's really added a lot of the tensions, because that actually raised a lot of the questions and concerns that drivers had about some of the unwise decisions they were seeing from the less experienced drivers. We'll see if that taught a few lessons that maybe cleaned up the racing here today for the full 500-miler. We're watching Clark Archer out there for riding shotgun, and you talked some about the team's championship. Some of the organizers were telling me, Bill, that the team aspect is probably more important in this race than any other of the races in the entire season. Maybe explain to the audience exactly why that's the situation here.
Oh, it's all about setups. And then, of course, when you're on a draft track like this, you need partners. So if you've got 3 or 4 or 5 cars out there racing with you, it's a huge advantage. And in fact, if I can find my notes here, one of the teams actually got 5. It was a riding shotgun, I think, that got them all in. I don't want to be wrong on that. I'll double check myself on that later.
I see 6 of them in here, it looks like.
6, yeah. That's got to be a help. Now, those guys are really good on the ovals.
Yeah, I'm looking at the notes as well. I see Alliance. This is actually stunning because usually they get more in here. They only have 4. That sounds like a lot, but only 4. Kinetic has 5. Unorthodox also has 5. So there's a number of teams that have shown up in force in the top split. One, though, that we saw that actually I need to check to see how many they got into. They did very well at Daytona a couple weeks ago for the 2.4. That was V-Apex, but they are known more for the road side than the oval side. So we're not sure if they're going to continue this good effort over here as we watch one of our independent drivers. Boy, it's going to be a lonely race for Brent McCoy out there today.
Well, somebody's going to snatch him up soon. I think there's no room to be independent here.
Absolutely. Liam Quinn, of course, having recently joined up with the Kinetic Americas team over there. Kinetic, one of the major players that showed up last year and showed themselves to be an incredible force to watch out for. Nick, what about pit strategy around here? I mean, obviously it's a long race and it's got caution, so that's unpredictable, but how does it play into this in general? Fuel, tires, what are drivers going to be looking out for?
Well, Joe, of course, the biggest concern here is normally fuel. A lot of people often overlook tires. For the most part here, if you're going to fill up your car, you might as well slap 4 fresh Goodyear tires on it anyway. So tires often not an issue here, but fuel, it's going to be really interesting. A fuel run normally goes between 40, 45 laps when you're in a draft. By yourself, you might be down to 30 or 35, so that's a huge difference. But, you can work it backwards. You can plan out ahead as much as you want to, but the chaos, the unexpected chaos that Daytona throws you, it's just the strategy here going into it. No one knows what's going to happen.
Here's hoping we see some green flag pit stops, right, guys?
Absolutely. Well, the good news is that I heard it was about 3.5 hours, I think, for the Euro split, which is known for not necessarily being as clean as the Americas on the oval side. So that's a good sign to me. Well, hopefully we'll see some good racing out there today. Now, sad news. Apparently the real world's coming in affecting sim racing once again. Sounds like Travis Warling will not be able to race here today because he's snowed in. I assume he is one of our Northwest drivers. They're having some deep, deep snow out there. So our thoughts go out to all of you having to deal with that up there in the Pacific Northwest here in the U.S. But warm-up is now over. We're waiting for the session to turn over. Then we get to go racing for 500 miles, and we can bring you the grid here in the majors. It's round 2 today. With that, let's give you our starting order. Up on the pole, it is Blake Reynolds. He'll be followed by Christian Challoner starting in second. Kevin Hill will start row 2 in third. Then we've got J.D. Willis in P4, followed by Brian Bennett in 5th. Eric Mickey in 6th place is followed by Vincent Larabier in 7th. Alan Pajari in P8 is followed by Josh Cully in 9th, and that row is rounded out by Adam Lindgren.
Smokes, there's a lot of fresh names up there. Lance Nasser in the 11th position. Here's an old-timer, Matthew Thunhurst in 12th. The Baker's dozen spot goes to Liam Quinn. He's good as an open-wheel driver, but also good on the ovals as well in these fendered cars. Jeff Stabnow in 14th. He's going to be inside of Wade Hayes. 16th position is Brian Hollock. Bob Pastrami back there in 7th position. Good to see him making the top split. Chris Pence in 18th, 19th, and 20th goes to Joshua Cantata and Andrew Oki.
Jeff Schmeier in the 30 car going to be rolling off P21, followed by Chuck Chambliss, one of the few drivers driving the Chevy SS today in the field. Wayne Hutchinson, 17 car, and Steve Driscoll following them in 23rd and 24th. Brett McCoy in the 383 going to round out the top 25. They're going to be followed by Dallas Pataska, one of those drivers we see on the road side of things, often followed by Samuel Roush. There's a name a lot of oval racing fans will recognize. Followed by Taft Baldwin in the 5, Eric Smith in the 32, and Jason K. Miller in the 651, rounding out the top 30.
Darwin Meets in 31st will be followed by Daniel Knight in P32, then Trevor Clement in 33rd. Clark Archer all the way back in 34th. And Clark, pretty good wherever you stick him in, so I'm surprised he's all the way back there. That shows you how much talent is out there. Rob Powers follows him in 35th. Then it's Lynn Kinchlow in 36th. And Brian McCready rounds out our 37-car field that will take the green. You can see the pace car already leading them down the Daytona super stretch. Getting ready to head into 3 and 4. And then the Mustang will release them. And we'll see what our old rivals, Reynolds and Challoner, will have for each other. Now, Challoner, you may remember we reported, is over in the European region this season, and if you're wondering why he's here, they do get a guest drive that they are allowed to come over. Eric Mickey is also one of those drivers coming over, and that'll be fascinating because Mickey won the European race last year. Blake Reynolds won the Pacific race over here back when it was split into Pacific and Atlantic. So it's going to be a tight fight to see who takes the win, with two of them looking to repeat. The Mustang pace car peels off, green flag waves, and we are green racing here for round 2 in the majors. The Daytona 500 on its way as the cars get spooled up. Reynolds gets a slight little bit of a jump, which isn't always a good thing. You can see Challoner already gaining speed on the top side. Nick, nobody really making any major moves. This is a good sign here at the start.
It is. That was a not great start, like you said, for Blake Reynolds, but it shouldn't make too much difference here at Daytona. That inside lane often is the preferred lane to be on the first couple of laps. That outside lane takes him a couple more laps to get it wound up out there, but everyone holding suit right now, everyone holding line, and like you said, looks pretty clean as they head into turn 3 and 4.
Already with the practice they've had out there, the track has been rubbered in somewhat. You could see the line put in down there. Coming up to the tri-oval, looks like first lap going to be led by Challoner, actually, as he's got a head of steam and he's being pushed along by J.D. Willis. And already Willis is going to duck down and leave Challoner out to dry to take the low side down through 1 and 2 and lead the way. A little bit of a bunch up back there on the top side.
Boy, that was the Challoner got a little bit of a help from his buddy behind him there. It's interesting to see if the top side's going to work or if it's going to be down low that goes first. Looks like the inside line's going to be maybe a little faster to start with.
Yeah, that was Mickey, I believe, that pulled into the back of him. Already that low side pulling a little bit forward. You can see second is currently Reynolds, and that's Kevin Hill in that green and yellow car behind him in the number 52. Oh, and now it looks like Reynolds is going to duck up to the high side. This is a lot of switching around very early.
It is, and I'm kind of interested to see that, and you better be careful there, because Challenger was just giving Reynolds a bit of a push there. You don't really want to bump too much in these turns here, or push too much in these turns, because they'll get really sideways there, but the 73 and the 1, they are looking really fast right now, hooked up on the outside lane.
That may be a lane change based on reputation rather than speed. Maybe Reynolds maybe feels a little bit more comfortable with Challenger behind him, a guy he's raced a ton with, than some of these unknown drivers he's not sure about.
Yeah, and that's a fair point. The immense respect between those two rivals. You have to imagine that they trust each other quite a bit, especially in a discipline such as this, where they know the other has a fair bit of experience. So far, this has been a pretty calm start. Now, the front, what is this, maybe a dozen or so rows are still side by side, but then you start to get single file back to about 23rd. Wayne Hutchison in the number 17 car sees a string of cars, and then we're starting to get a gap. That's not good news for those cars behind there, Nick.
It's not, but early on in this race, we do see sometimes a strategy where a couple of cars will drop out of the draft on purpose if they can still stay hooked up so they don't go a lap down. So always a strategy that you see here at the plate tracks in oval racing. It might be what those guys back there are doing.
You know, that's a good strategy for most of the time, but maybe they're not used to what goes on here in the majors, where we could get, knock on wood, a long green flag run, and these guys could find themselves in trouble. You're back there, you're kind of banking that a yellow flag's going to come out, and you're just staying out of trouble. Maybe not.
Riding on board with Christian Challenger as the Kinetic Europe driver looks back at the field. See number 52 of Kevin Hill to his inside. Like I said, this is very, very good signs with how calm we're seeing these drivers cooperate and look towards just rifling off the laps. I'd say all the warnings pre-race have not fallen on deaf ears. They complete lap 5 and now head into lap 6 out of 200 out there today. It's a long way to go. We're not even close to the first pit stop.
You saw Blake Reynolds drop back down to that bottom lane, so right now he's being pushed by J.D. Willis in the 362. Thought maybe he wanted to stay up there with Challenger, but I don't know if he's going to want to stay up on the high side as the 52 getting a real big push in the bottom. That's Kevin Hill getting pushed by Brian Bennett.
Bennett, one of the Alliance drivers, and I'm not seeing a whole lot of teammates hooked up right now, so looks like most everybody willing to ride with whoever they're with instead of trying to shuffle through the order to get with their friends.
Couple of big names I was surprised to see so far back in the order: Dallas Pataska and Lynn Kinchelo. So I wanted to check in on them, see how they were doing. And sure enough, there are two big movers up 5 and 6 positions. Not a lot of movers or droppers here because everyone's kind of just pinned where they are.
A couple of cars ducking across and switching lines there as they come down the backstretch into 3 one more time. I talked about the rubbering in of the track with the practice, Nick. Throughout the race, does that affect the high and low line very much? Does it swap around, or is it pretty minimal here?
You might see that top lane break into a little bit. They are losing time right now, but right now it looks pretty equal as far as their speeds go. Top lane, though, like I just said, is losing time. They are losing cars one by one, which makes them slower and slower by the 10th of a second every lap. So it'll be interesting to see if that makes any effect later in the race.
That top line really dropping back. Despite that, it looks like Bennett's not too wary of it. He jumps up to the high side and gets some help from the likes of Christian Challenger. Number 73 gives him a slight shove into turn 3. And that gets the momentum going, at least temporarily, though. The top 3 are still single file. That's Reynolds, Willis, and Hill with a little bit of an edge.
10 cars in that top line, but it's interesting that the cars racing back there like 21st position. Hutchinson, McCoy, Roush, Smith, Miller, they're all happy to stay down low. Nobody's thinking about going up top. They're going to stay right there. That goes all the way back to 27th position back there with Justin Canada back there.
Now, we do have a car that's on his own that looks like he might get lapped soon if it stays green. That's Brian Halleck. He is back in 37th, and I'd say less than a quarter of a lap from being lapped right now. Actually, a lot less than that. The leaders are coming on him right now. I'm not sure if he started from pit lane. It sounds like he did, in fact, start from pit lane, so maybe banking on an early caution that, sadly, for the number 6, did not come.
Yeah, looks like he might already be a couple laps down, so he'll probably go to the high side here and let the leaders go by. But like we said just a moment ago, that top line really not gaining much traction right now, but no one really wanting to go up there either because there's just no need to already, only on lap 10, so no need to stir up the pot more than you have to already.
Taylor, can he hide from two rows coming at him? Can he go high and not get away? Well, we'll find out. Oh, that's how you get it up, put it way up top.
Yeah, I think he's going to have it here, and everybody's just smoothly moving by. Now, 3 wide in the trioval, we understand, gets a little trickier, and so far they've handled it well. While we shove Taylor out of the booth and bring Nick back in, it looks like they've handled lap traffic. I'd say it'll get a little bit more interesting when they get 2 groups that meet each other.
Yeah, that'll be interesting, and that is going to be a result of some green flag pit stops if we see, I think, because unless every single person on track comes down pit road at the same time, you're going to have a couple different groups. That's going to create a little bit of stagger, and if they're not single file running when we get to that point later, assuming we do get to that point later, it's going to be really interesting to see the slight differential in speed.
You know, it's hard enough to call the drivers by the right name. You think you should get the commentators by the right name, right?
Yeah, we got a long race to go. You can learn it eventually. So, starting to see that bottom line really pull away now. The 71 of Bennett, all the way back in 6th, has pulled ahead of the likes of Challoner, who is not giving up on the top lane. For some reason, he is insistent on trying to make that work. He's still got a little bit of help in the form of the number 88 of Eric Mickey. Oh, there we go. And just like that, he comes down.
He saw a hole and he went for it, and it was close, but the spotter cleared him, and he ducked right in there between the 71 and the 24 and made it work. That was Liam Quinn in the 24 behind him that had to check off a little bit, and you saw a little bit of a gap there that separated him because of that.
Now, from what we understand, part of the reason this has been such a popular race with drivers coming in and attempting to run this one is the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. The big boys here on iRacing are doing this same race next week, and a number of them are seeing this as good practice, good experience. Nick, is it different enough that getting out and actually having to run a full 500 miles instead of, say, maybe a 100-lap race or something with some friends, does it make that much of a difference?
Yeah, those the Peak Antifreeze Series, I believe they're running on Tuesday, actually. And their race is only 100 laps, and in the last couple of years, it often has gone green flag all the way through. So definitely a lot of experience that a couple of these guys like Blake Reynolds and Christian Challoner are getting here. A little extra practice should definitely help them moving forward into that race.
Shows you how much I pay attention to the oval side. You'd think I'd know that it's a half distance on that one. 14 laps into this 200-lap race, though. It is still Blake Reynolds, last year's winner, up at the top. J.D. Willis is following him around the number 362 with Kevin Hill back in 3rd. The 4th one in line, Vincent Larabier, the Canadian, is hoping to maybe give an international win here to this race. Curious to actually know what that makes me wonder. What is the last time we've had a non-American win the real-world Daytona 500? We'll have to see if someone in the peanut gallery has the stats on that one.
That's a good trivia question, Joe. I like that one. I'm going to try to commentate and think at the same time, which is going to be rough. Mickey is having a hard time back there. He's fallen back to 14th in the 88. I don't know if it's the top line just isn't fast enough or if he just doesn't have enough population there to get it going. It's down to 5 cars up there now.
The good news is this top group is still a lot of cars. Steve Driscoll is bringing up the rear in 26th, the number 51. Pretty much has his pick of whichever way he wants to go. Then they've got about a gap of about a second, it looks like, to Josh Kanata. He is currently running the number 97 with his own train of cars.
The bottom lane holding strong right now. Haven't seen many people. Sometimes you see people, even if it's just single file, try to slingshot with their teammate or a couple try to get a couple positions. But everyone, playing cautious right now, still only coming up to lap 17.
Good to see the behavior that we've been seeing out there today, though. This pretty much mirrors what we saw in round one, Bill, as we were worried about the multi-class racing causing all kinds of problems, and it turned out to be one of the cleanest majors races we've seen. Not even taking into account that it was multi-class, which also causes chaos. So this, 2019 looks like a new year for this series. This is the year of professionalism, almost, I'd dare to say.
Yeah, I felt like my grandmother that first race, makes it a big worry, got all worried and everything about nothing. Everything went fine. There are 3 cars I think we should look in on in 34th position. This is Daniel Knight, Clark Archer, and Taft Baldwin. These guys are next to be lapped, and they're doing their very best to team up and hopefully stay on the lead lap.
And those are teammates riding shotgun cars, all 3 in a row. So that makes sense why those are all together. Now, up at the front, Brian Bennett ducked up to the top side, and he was followed by Challenger because he seems to like that top side. But then very quickly, Challenger came back down low, and poor Bennett, he has been left out to dry. Unfortunately, blowing in the breeze as cars start to stream through. He's going to have a gap.
Got a little help from his teammate here. I think Matthew Thunderhurst is going to let him down in there. Yeah. That's it.
Sister teams for Bennett and Thunderhurst, 2 of the Alliance racers.
Yeah, when that happened, I saw Josh Coley, another teammate there, trying to peek his way up there, but wasn't quite brave enough or didn't think he was up there or didn't think he was clear to get up there. So I think that was trying to be a team effort. They were trying to hook up there together.
Oh, I think you nailed it, Nick. And Alliance is notorious for that. They seem to just they kind of swarm. You'll see. Watch when this race goes a little bit long. You'll see Alliance 4 or 5 cars in a row.
Yeah, I pretty much expect them to all find each other later on in the race as things sort themselves out. We're only 1/10 of the way through this one. So they've certainly got time to try and work strategy and work together. And the other interesting thing about that, Bill, that we should note is a lot of these teams do have TeamSpeak or Discord open, and they're all talking to each other. So they actually know where each other is typically.
Well, if you can get together on the racetrack, it makes it that much easier to come in, make a pit stop, and all come out together. Make sure you don't lose your partner.
Absolutely. We're about halfway through a fuel stint so far. So we see them pretty much all single file. Look at that. Way on down to the back. Is it still down to 26th place, though, or have they brought some newcomers?
I'm going to say it goes to 30. Chris Pence trying to hang in there the best he can. He's about 7 or 8 car lengths back in 30 position, trying to stay on the back of Eric Mickey. Hey, Eric Mickey, remember him? He's now 29.
Well, you talked about finding each other. Well, he's dropped back to his teammate Darwin Mintz.
Yep.
Who is just ahead of him in 28th. The number 72 car. Following another one of the Alliance drivers. That's Trevor Clement. He's got a ways to go to get to his friends.
And that's sometimes what it takes to get hooked up with a teammate. You see that a lot in the real world when NASCAR or another series comes to Daytona, and people will drop back real early in the race to find their teammate, and then when a caution comes out or they go through some pit cycles, they will work their way up with each other. And if a caution did come out right now, Darwin and Eric would be with it right next to each other.
And keep in mind, there's a lot of drivers that had to work really hard to get into this split, spending a lot of time on qualifying setup. Not sure how much they practice racing on 22-lap-old tires. And Daytona is not like Talladega. This actually is a handling track where the car can get away from you a little bit. So maybe we'll see things start to stretch out a little bit here when this car gets a little bit not as friendly.
And despite the number of participants this time, I believe is 4 or 5 splits. I'll have to double check on that. It's a lot of cars running. I know it's over 100. There is one conspicuous person missing, and I hope he's watching out there because we want to give a big shout out to Brian Barnes. This is the first race he's missed, Bill. 66 consecutive races that Brian Barnes has done in the majors. I'm curious to know how many seasons that goes back, if that goes back to the very first one or not.
Yeah, a couple things are weird. Not to have the popsicle car out there of Barnes is a little unsettling for me, and not to see the number 2 of Kalisto going around me saying, "Hey, don't worry, he'll be there at the end." I hope Lionel's doing well in the second split, and I hope Barnes is doing okay, enjoying the race.
Absolutely. We ride on board with Steve Driscoll back in 22nd. Number 51 car, you can see running the high side with this group towards the back, and there you can just get a peek of the train up ahead and just how long it's getting. Ducks the car out. We haven't talked about that a whole lot either, is the engine temperatures, Nick. That seems to be a significant factor that inexperienced drivers need to learn how to deal with here in plate racing.
Yeah, it is oftentimes a big factor here. A handful of green flag laps into a run at Daytona, and yeah, like you said, a lot of those inexperienced drivers, a lot of the rookies, when it comes to plate racing, often suffer from that. It's just something you don't often think about when it comes to racing. But when you really get your grill tucked up underneath the backside of another car for 20, 30, 40 laps at a time, those temperatures are definitely going to start rising, and you oftentimes will see people peak out of line and sometimes even lose positions because of that.
Adam Lindgren was racing in 11th position, and he thought he'd try the high side. He pulled up right in front of Dallas Pataska. Maybe another reputation move.
And we're getting some blinking, and is this causing some separation? There's a big checkup. That's number 24 of Liam Quinn. I think he had to check up due to the likes of Challoner, who was ahead of him, and this is separating. Oh, and is Challoner fully gone here? I haven't seen a disconnect message yet. This is not good news for him. Of all the types of racing, you don't want your connection to go out. Here you're going to see him just blink out.
Yeah, it's not good at all. And those 5 cars at the front, well, they don't mind it. They don't mind getting away a little bit. But if Challoner can't really get, or if he can't really connect here, and there I just saw the throughput notification for Challoner, so that is no good news for him. But this second pack of cars, if they get back single file, they might really eat up those top 5 quickly.
Well, that's the whole thing. They got to get it sorted out there, and maybe, I don't know if they're going to be able to catch them racing too wide. We'll see.
Right now, the gap looks to be at about half a second. Boy, the distances that you deal with here in plate racing. Yeah, it looked so monstrous, and it says half a second.
I agree, Joe. You're taking the words right out of my mouth. I looked at that, too, and I said, oh, my gosh, how far back are they? Oh, it's half a second. Big deal.
But they are gaining. They are gaining slowly but surely. That 24 of Liam Quinn is reeling them in. Ironically, it's a kinetic car working alongside the likes of Brian Bennett behind him, an Alliance racer.
Ooh, the 388 was starting to roll up to the top side. Got me worried a bit. Ah, they're back.
The 388 might have been going up to look for Brian Bennett, or the 98 rather, if he could have go up there and get some of those teammates hooked up on the top side there.
We've been green since we started racing, since lap 1 here in round 2 of the majors. If you're just joining us for the Daytona 500, welcome. But Nick, this brings me to an interesting question. We talk a lot about setups and finding speed in qualifying, but what about race? Can these cars, can their handling evolve significantly enough over the course of a green flag stint that it's a worry?
Yeah, a lot of times here at Daytona, like Soup was saying, it's unlike Talladega, the handling really kicks in, and it's all because of those tire wear. The tire wear here, coming off of turn 2 and 4, especially 4, when it goes from 31 degrees to banking all the way down to practically completely flat, it really unsettles the car a lot of times, especially on the inside lane. It has a tendency to snap left or sometimes even right a lot of times, and you might need to catch the car just a little bit, especially if you have a car in front of you and behind you, because you have air to deal with as well.
Want to jump you back to 32nd position again. Remember we talked about those 3 cars that were last in line? Well, now there's 4. They kind of have a stowaway. The riding shotgun guys, they got Daniel Knight, Clark Archer, and Taft Baldwin. The guy that doesn't belong is the 47 of Rob Powers, but he's enjoying racing with him. They're about a half a lap behind the leaders, I think.
I've got good news for Christian Challoner fans. He has reconnected and he's gotten back out on track. The bad news is he's 3 laps down. fortunate for him, he does have someone to race with, sort of. Brian Halleck is on the same lap as him in 36th, but he's halfway around the track.
I hear the lucky dog barking already. Just needs to bark 3 times and he's back on the lead lap.
Well, so far he's not getting a lot of help on that.
Yeah, right now it would be Brian Halleck actually getting that lucky dog position, and Halleck, to make matters worse for Challoner, is racing with the lead pack, so he's getting a draft and is considerably faster around the track right now than Challoner.
Which will probably mean Challoner's going to go a lap down to Halleck soon enough once he gets caught by the likes of Reynolds, Willis, and Hill, still leading the top 3 at the front of the pack.
Yeah, but here's what you forget. Challoner has the talent to do it the old-fashioned way and find himself just get to the front of the field and be ahead of the leader, and I guess he'd have to work his way through 30 cars every time. Whoa, can we get a replay on the number 96 car of Andrew Accoy? Oh my gosh, I thought he was about to lose it. There you see that yellow car up top. He might have put it in the wall.
He's dropping back.
I think he did in turn 3.
He's chasing the number 409. He pulls up behind him. Drifts up a little bit high. Oh, yep. And you can see the damage on the car. And he's dropped back to the back of that group. He's trailing behind Josh Kanata. But unfortunately, he's not tucked up very closely behind.
Yeah, that looks like a bad place to be. Kanata might be dropping back a little bit here. Maybe not intentionally, but that might end up helping Andrew a little bit.
Now, I feel like normally I would hand this question off to Nick, since he's our experienced one on the oval side here. But Bill, this feels so much up your alley.
I'm scared now.
Okay. Blake Reynolds has been leading for a long, long time now. We talked about how long fuel stints are by yourself. He has friends, but he's been up front.
Yeah, I don't think he cares. I think he is so happy to be out in front where he is. Not the only thing he has to worry about is hitting the seagull. I think he's fine.
But where's his... I think all of his ride-in shotgun guys are out back.
Yeah, those are the guys hanging out in the back. That's,
so
they're guarding the back door.
Is he going to be up a certain creek soon?
No, he's Blake Reynolds, man. There's no creek with his name on it.
Well, we'll find out soon enough. It's already lap 34. The predictions I was getting from some of our experts was at 37 to 38 if you're alone. So maybe not quite 40 laps for Blake Reynolds here. It depends on how his fuel is looking, especially how many laps he ran when he was behind a couple cars as they were ducking in and out, and maybe about the first 10 laps. The director being a smart aleck in the background, letting us know that there is a Reynolds Creek in Idaho, apparently. So.
Okay, well, he's a long way from that one.
Yeah.
If you're Blake Reynolds as well, just having that reputation, that's the third time I've gone to reputation, but if you're back there and looking at Blake Reynolds coming in early, maybe you're Liam Quinn or Brian Bennett or, that's not a horrible driver to pull in with, especially some of these independents. Alan Pajari may want to come in. Get on the back of Blake Reynolds. That's not the worst thing that can happen to you.
This is true. Now, the sun comes back out. We had quite a bit of cloud cover there for a moment, which is something new for this season of the majors. And Nick, this is our first time in the majors having this changing cloud cover. Does the handling of the cars, is that affected by the cloud cover here? Is it pretty nominal?
If there's significant cloud cover, it's going to get grippier and people are going to be able to maneuver a little bit more. And the hotter temperature of the track, the sunshine, it'll make it a little slick. And especially with these 36-lap old tires, might make them slide around a little bit more if they're changing lines coming out of turns 2 or 4. But other than that, I think all of these guys pretty experienced. They know what to expect before they make those moves, and they should have that covered.
All right, I'm making my call. First pit stop happens from, I'm going to say lap 40. I think that's what we're looking at here.
I'm watching your wallet to make sure you don't get it out here, because you don't need to lose any more money as we continue to watch our leaders cycle around. We're about 3 laps from finding a way whether or not Bill's prediction is correct or not. And I frankly, I don't know about you two, I don't think I've seen any changes for position within the top 10 in a number of laps now. They've just been riding.
Well, look, they all know that The Walking Dead is back on TV tonight. They'd like to get to that as soon as possible. So just keep in line, have a nice clean race, and order up the pizza and enjoy some zombies.
Thought maybe you're going to tie that into everybody walking in line here as they come through turn 1 one more time. Now to lap 38, getting ever closer, and we do have some pitters. Oh, Mickey and Mintz, teammates.
Those guys were at the back.
Bombshell Racing drivers very far apart on pit lane, though. Both of them in smoothly. Mickey actually a little coasty into his pit stall, making sure that he doesn't overshoot it.
He burned a lot of fuel, too, even though he wasn't at the front. Here they come!
Ooh. We were off by 2, Bill.
Well, I'm not sure these guys know what they're doing. The real one, Blake Reynolds, he's coming in at 40. He's the only guy that matters.
That is Bennett, Cully, Thunhorst, and Hayes that have all come in. Let's see if anybody overshoots their stall. Oh, looks like Brian Bennett a little bit too far. Oh, and he's having to do a lot of adjustments to get into his stall. The number 71. He's still moving around. Oh, my goodness. Nightmare scenario for the Alliance driver.
That is really going to hurt him. And he came in with all of his teammates, too, so he had it all planned. And it looks like he has a little bit of left front damage when I'm looking at him here.
Oh! I thought Reynolds was going to get tagged there by the by
Willis,
J.D. Willis.
It was close. I'm not sure if he did. No, it looks like he avoided him. Let's watch the replay. This would be great from onboard Willis. Look at this.
Wow.
He's trying to get him. He was trying to get him wound up. He's still working on it, slowing it down. Now he can. Oh.
Few choice words probably coming from the number 362 on his way into the cones, but he got it in and he hit his pit stall. In fact, he's going to get back out in the same position.
Yeah, he overshot the pit stall actually just a little bit, but he got it squared up a lot better than Bennett did, so not much time lost there from Willis.
I was using the metric system when I was calculating laps, because here comes the Canadian Vincent Leabert coming in now. On lap 40.
Yeah, it is a pit party now. This is the biggest group we've seen. And Nick, this can be interesting. We'll see if maybe a few people, I don't think anybody missed their stall, but getting in and out when you can't necessarily see your pit, do you think a few drivers could fall afoul of tangling with one another?
It's definitely possible, and that was a big group that came in right there. Looks pretty clean, looks very clean actually overall. It's going to be interesting to see though where everyone cycles back out, if anyone goes up or down a lap, and
Blake Reynolds,
what kind of groups form after that.
Blake Reynolds going by pit entry right now. Or sorry, pit exit. So he's coming up. He looks like he's going to get Hutchinson and Oki.
Well, he's all by his lonesome, though.
Yeah, he sure is. Blows by those 5. Up into 7.
He's going to get by Steve Driscoll. And I think he's going to stall out just behind Sam Roush, who has already pitted. Yeah, everybody ahead of him has pitted. So does that mean Vincent Leherbier is our leader now?
You know why? Because he pitted on lap 40, like one of the commentators talked about.
I still don't know if I'd want you as a crew chief, Bill, but...
Got the Canadian out in front. So it's Leherbier, and then it's Alan Pajari and Jason Miller back there in second and third.
Oh, and they're gaining on him fast because they got 2 cars working together. And then behind them, 3 more. That's Beltrami the Salami, Sam Roush, and Blake Reynolds. And they're just going to go right on around him.
Yeah, we're all going to find each other here.
The salami is going to help him out, though. It's not ashamed to try and give some speed to the kinetic racer on the low side, but there's more working up on the top side. Is this when we finally see the high line work a little bit better? Bottom two. Oh, we got a caution.
I'm seeing Clement involved in this one. 3 or 4 cars back there. The 425, I think, is the big one. Of Andrew Lindgren, of Adam Lindgren. He keeps it going. Oh, he has a nice ride. See on this one, he does a little bit of landscaping.
It looks like Lindgren came down into Chambliss, and that sparked it.
Great job by everybody on avoiding that.
Whee!
Oh, yeah. got some air there. Watch it one more time on the replay. So that's the bad news for Lindgren, who finds himself with a whole lot of damage. The good news for him is he does have a spare car. Watch from on board. One of our V-Apex drivers. That caused a fair bit of damage to the front of the number 55. Well, at least this happened after everyone pitted. This is our very first caution after 40-plus laps here in this 500-mile race. Already caught up behind the pace car. The current order now is Pajari leads, Leherbier second, Miller is third, Beltrami fourth, and Sam Roush runs P5. So that's going to take us to our first break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. We'll come back after this. We don't expect any more pit stops since it was so close after the last one. So we'll come back after a moment. And right as I say that, a couple cars come in.
That's nobody important. It's Blake Reynolds.
And is that Willis? That is Willis. So we'll go to break in a moment. Oh, a lot of cars coming in. Now this is Nick. Enlighten me on this one. I thought I understood oval strategy.
Well. I am stumped by this one. It's going to be interesting. I'm also confused like you as to what kind of logic is going behind this. But so many people are doing it, so they obviously know something that we don't.
I guess so. Now, unlike real life, they have unlimited tires here in iRacing. Money not being an issue. Blake's got some kind of problem. He must be trying to sort something out. Maybe a hardware issue? Wow.
For me, I'm seeing the car jiggling.
Yeah. Which is why I suspect maybe there's something wrong with hardware or... Okay. Now he is back. But he's at the very, very back of the field other than our lapped cars.
Yeah, but he's using up our break time. This is bothering me.
Well, we still got a little bit of time left.
All right, okay.
We'll come back after this here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. Stick around for more of round 2 of the Major.
Growing up as a kid in Oklahoma, where I'm from, the Chili Bowl is the biggest race that we have. The Chili Bowl has kind of been my favorite race of the year. Growing up a dirt racer in Oklahoma, that's kind of the holy grail.
welcome back to the Daytona International Speedway. We are getting ready to come back to green here on lap 48 of the Daytona 500, round 2 in the majors. It is a Texan up front, but not the one that you'd probably expect. Alan Bajari, after pit stops, inherited the lead from Blake Reynolds, who is well down the order. We did find out the reason. It was for, as what we call a bio break, is what we'll call it. So he had to step away from his computer for a little bit, but he's back out there, didn't lose a lap, and is able to get going again. But nature has certainly made it a little bit of hard running for the likes of Blake Reynolds. As the pace car peels off, Bajari has control. Green flag waves. We get our first restart of the race. Up on the high side, that is Vincent Leherbier, the Canadian. Going to see if he can get that top row running, get the speed going. So far, it hasn't been working that great.
How about Jason K. Miller, second in line down low there, racing in the 651. Started 30th, up all those positions to be racing now in second position. Went to Auburn University. He should be good when we go to Talladega.
I don't think they have that on the list.
All right.
Are going to Michigan, though, for the Cup cars a little bit later. These Cup cars getting wound up and getting the momentum going already. That high side dropping back, and many of the cars dropping down low. We've seen a lot of shuffling after those pit stops, and after we saw the yellow flag come out, and a lot of drivers take 2 stops. The highest of those cars that went in and came back out is J.D. Willis. He's down in 16th right now, so just about mid-pack and boxed in on the low line, thankfully for him.
Yeah, that outside line really not keeping form up there. It's Vincent Leherbier and Bob Beltrami up front. They are probably going to fall back, and they're looking for room down low, but just can't find it right now. Everyone knows the tail on the line.
Reynolds back in 31st if you're charting that.
Has he made up any positions yet, actually, since the drop?
He's not the last car 1 lap down, so yeah, he's picked up 3.
Well, I'll tell you what, this worked out well for him. Look at this. Up ahead of him, that is Knight and Archer, 2 of his teammates on riding shotgun. So that might be just what they wanted in the end anyways. We'll see if RSM can work their way forward now that they've got a trio.
And Nasir right behind him, all 4 of them working together there.
Riding shotgun kind of races like a school of fish, you know, they just kind of get together and then work their way through the field.
Interesting thing about riding shotgun too is in the past, traditionally the team had been all Texans that raced on each other, but this season they elected to open it up, and they have some non-Texans in the group. I'll have to double check my stats here to see which ones it is, but they are expanding their horizons, you could say.
Well, that's good for them, and I'm proud of them. Welcome to the 21st century.
Up at the front, you can see it is still Bajari leading the likes of Miller ahead of Sam Roush. Josh Cully is the 4th one in line. You got Thunhorst for Alliance rounding out your top 5. This is very quickly looking exactly how it did last time, with nobody really making any major moves. And it is a group of our top 11 that are making a breakaway, being held up by the likes of Jeff Schmeier at the back.
Yeah, they logged off quite a few laps, almost a quarter of the whole race under green to start with, and that's their goal again here. No one seeming to want to try that outside lane right now. Everyone just trying to get to at least the halfway point.
Well, despite that break in the 2 groups, Schmeier's being caught by Vincent Leherbier. Maybe it was a case of he needed just a gap to get back down, and now he's finding the ability to reel them in bit by bit, and indeed the 2 groups have come together, and that train is a whole heck of a lot bigger. Goes all the way down to Mintz in 26th position now. That is a lot of horsepower in a single train. A couple cars towards the back, trying to duck up to the high side, see if they can start something. That seems to be the Bombshell team, the likes of Mickey and Meats.
Mickey Meats, I like that. It's good. Good team, Nate.
Yeah, you had to get that in there somewhere.
Yeah. Those are some pretty cars that those guys are racing back there in the 88 and the 72. I like that paint scheme for Bombshell.
Now we managed to get some information together since we asked our question earlier about whether or not there has been a non-American who's won the Daytona 500. Well, that's got a little bit of an asterisk next to it.
Yeah.
Mario Andretti is the only one. So he is an American citizen, but he was not born in the U.S. So I mean, kind of counts, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's always an iffy thing. Depends on who you talk to, whether he's Italian or American.
He can be both.
Well, let me throw one out. I'll make one a little easier. Mario Andretti, of course, won the Indianapolis 500 and the Daytona 500. Who's the only other driver to do that?
I'm going to guess Foyt on that one.
That's good.
There you go.
How about this one, Joe? Who's the only one to win the Indy 500 and then crash into a fire truck at Daytona?
You're bringing up Montoya. All right.
Okay, there you go. All right, I'm done.
If it's any,
okay, it's done with. Go ahead.
Hey, in all fairness, Montoya never won, but he did steal the show that year, which he would have been the first non-American there. So.
Yeah, he was.
Left his NASCAR days behind without as much success as I'm sure he would have liked. But we do have some pro drivers, at least on the sim side, here with us today. It was mentioned earlier. The only two in the race, surprisingly, in this top split, is the likes of Challoner and Reynolds once again. Indeed.
The field's got to be kind of happy. Challoner not in the mix and Reynolds back there buried in 30th position. I got to like that as we work in lap 56.
It's a long race. like a phoenix from the ashes. I would not be surprised if at least Reynolds found himself coming forward. It's going to be a lot harder climbing for poor Challoner, but I will not count out Blake Reynolds at this point.
Challoner has made progress. He was 3 laps down, and he got the wave around. He's down to 2 laps down, so he is making progress, but if they stay green for as long as they have and continue these lengthy green flag runs, it's going to be real difficult for him.
And he's in the lucky dog spot, right? And until somebody goes a lap down, but he's doing okay.
Looking in the background, we saw a little bit of two-wide racing, and the reason for that, remember we mentioned Ride and Shotgun found each other. Well, they're trying to work their way by that group on the lower side there. That is the likes of Bennett and Powers and the number 6, I think that is, Halleck down there. So this is just a freight train coming through, essentially, trying to catch this top group.
And you mentioned that lucky dog position there, Soup. Right now it is Challoner, but Adam Lindgren has fallen off the pace as well. He's got some significant right front damage from that earlier incident. He's just now crossing the start-finish line, so he's definitely the next one to fall a lap down. It's definitely going to happen if they stay green.
Yeah, but if I give you the starting grids of some of these drivers in the top 10, Miller from 30th, Roush from 27th.
Can we go back to the likes of Knight and Archer? They just went 3 wide, and they have to take evasive action in the back there. That was Taft Baldwin.
Oh, he's in the wall.
We might win. Do we have someone in the wall?
Daniel Knight got in the wall, yeah.
Oof. Let's see if we can get a replay all the way back to where this started, where they went 3 wide. There you see it on the screen. The number 1 car trying to slice through. That's actually Blake Reynolds trying to find his way to the front. I guess they wanted him up there. Maybe figure he's the fastest. That got really hairy. Ugh. Yep, and indeed, you were right. Knight did get into the wall. And there's a little bit of damage on the rear of the car, unfortunately. Now, these guys have made it a little bit easier for us, and probably need to thank whoever painted the cars on this one. They've put the Texas flag on the back of all the Texans, and you can see Daniel Knight from the Carolinas. I don't know if that's the North or South Carolina flag back on there, and I'm sure everybody watching from the Carolinas is now yelling at me, but forgive me, I'm a Midwesterner. A lap down for poor Challoner as the top train goes by.
And Joe, that would be the North Carolina flag, I believe,
you.
with the big NC on it. Yes.
I didn't look at it close enough, apparently.
Let's bring Taylor back in here. Send Nick out. That's
Blake Reynolds has been making some interesting moves. He tried to duck below Brian Halleck a moment ago and almost got forced onto the apron. He wants to get back up there. Now he's going to work together with Halleck. No, he's not. He's going to duck back down low and going to side with one of his team's rivals, Brian Bennett, for Alliance. They hook up with Powers and leave the lapped car out to dry.
the point I was making before the guys got in the wall was how many of the cars in the top 10 are from well back in the field. 30th, 27th, 29th, 26th, 24th, 25th. So, you know, those guys who are racing farther back, plenty of time for them to get to the front.
Reynolds, like you said, Joe, being real aggressive right now, and my guess is that everyone there at Riding Shotgun thought he was the best one to try to pave the way for that train of aggressiveness, try to get up here and fight for some of these spots back. But right now just has the 71 of Bennett and Rob Powers in the 47 ahead of him, and then it's quite a ways up to the lead pack.
Boy, Christian Challoner not really happy with Adam Lindgren right now because Lindgren just went a lap down. He is now the lucky dog, the number 425. Now, Challoner's going to go by him, but I believe he's still laps down from Lindgren.
Yeah, Challoner was 2 laps down. He's fallen back to 3 down now, it looks like.
So with all the drivers that pitted on that caution, that does split our strategy into a little bit of variance, not a lot. The highest car who did take the pit under caution is Willis still. That was 18 laps ago. Meanwhile, up at the front, we've got a mix of about 24 to 22 laps on the stints for all the drivers from first on down to 13th.
Willis is going to have about a 4-lap cushion where he can stay out a little bit. He'll be the leader and have many cars 1 lap down. Of course, when the yellow comes out, they'll cycle back around, but nevertheless, he'll be looking good.
And that's if he chooses to as well. He could decide to just come in with everybody else. He basically has options. Only lap 64, though. We still got a ways before we get to the next set of stops. Top cars may be going another 15 to 20 laps, we believe.
Alan Pachari doing a lot of the work, talking about fuel. He's been out in front this entire stint.
Yep, we're watching from on board the Texan, looking back at Jason Miller. 651, happy to ride behind him, as is pretty much the entire top group, to be honest.
Yeah, they're just concerned with logging laps right now. Not even a third of the way through this race right now, so they're just just barely a third of the way through this race, almost.
Hey, all those flags out there on the cars makes me really miss the Governor's Cup. I wish I could bring that back whether they want it or not.
You're going to be in charge of keeping track of all that data, Bill, not me. That's just all I'm going to say. We ride on board with 6th place Eric Smith looking up at Thunderhorst. You've been getting very minimal chatter out there. They tend to discourage drivers from talking over the radio. And there was some talk on the last set of green flag stops where maybe some drivers got into each other trying to slow up. But other than that, I'm not sure what I just heard on the radio in terms of talking to each other. Oh, we got a caution.
Powers.
Oh. Couple cars, it looks like, involved. And I think some of them are riding shotgun. Oh, all of the riding shotgun guys narrowly avoided this. That's the number 47 of Powers getting loose. Ooh. Hair-raising avoidance by the Texans.
I think Powers actually got into the back of Reynolds as well.
Yeah.
I think that's what got him loose. Reynolds maybe washed up a little bit. 47 had to check up, hit the apron, spun around. Can we get an onboard with Lance Nasir?
What a job from him.
Something that can see the steering wheel. Because holy cow. Watch these hands work. There's the action up front. Has to pick a lane. Goes all the way to the apron. Car sideways. Oh.
Nick, it's kind of hard to bang the car down there, isn't it? Keep it going straight like that.
Yeah, slamming onto that apron, really difficult.
Can that actually damage the under tray pretty badly, or is he good?
It could. He was at such an angle, though. I think he might be all right. I mean, the midsection of the car was completely off the ground, just at such an angle there.
Well, he's able to save his bacon and keep going. And that is our second caution now. I'm guessing we will see nearly everybody in at this point. We'll find out in a moment. Pace car has picked up the likes of Pajari up at the front.
Somebody that's only on a half stint is going to stay out, though.
For track position, you think?
Yeah, somebody in the back will stay out, I would think.
Seeing a lot of drivers committing.
They're all coming.
Challoner, naturally, is going to stay out. Try to get a lap back. Same thing with Halleck. Oh, and Adam Lindgren, of course. So basically all of our lapped cars. Otherwise, every single driver on the lead lap is in, but Jeff Schmeier is out. Now, did he actually stop? No, he did not. We have our first car.
That's my boy.
That missed his pit stall. I don't know if he's your boy right now, Bill. I think that was not intentional. That's the number 30 car.
Didn't mean for him to take it down pit lane.
He might come back in here on this lap.
Oh, stay out, Jeff. This is going to work out for you, man.
Well, I was going to say how long his stint was, but I don't know because it reset on my timing and scoring because he went through. The dog bear white driver might come back in. We'll see.
I think he was back in there in those guys that did the recent stop, the last yellow flag around. So he's got about 20 laps in.
It has been mixed up slightly. Josh Cully was the first to actually stop to get back out. Matthew Thunhorst followed him into what we believe will be second place. But then it's Josh Miller, Sam Roush, and Eric Smith. How about this? You talk about drivers you expect up at the front. The 023 of Dallas Pataska, now solidly in the top 10.
Oh, Jeff, come on. No, oh, I'm disappointed.
It's got to come in sometime. Based on what we've seen, though, Bill, I think this is the right call for the dog bear driver. He's probably going to get another long green. If he has to make a green flag stop, that's going to hurt a lot more.
Yeah, that would really hurt him. If we went just like 20 more laps, he'd definitely have to come in. So, as much as it disappoints Soup, he didn't come in on lap 40 either. So he's not following Soup's advice so far yet this race.
Telling you, there's going to be another yellow flag. We're on lap 70. There's going to be one coming out at lap 87. That's 17 laps from now. They're all going to come in again, and he would have been up front. But that's all right.
Looks like Lance Nasir and Adam Lindgren in. I believe Lindgren should have got the lucky dog. That's why he came in for a stop. So he'll be back on the lead lap and back on the tail of the train. So this promotes Cully up to first, Thunhorst to second, Miller to third. I'm going to get a wave around for Christian Challenger here in a second. I believe we should be going green, not this time by, but the next time by.
Well, last time we went green, Reynolds was in 31st. He's now in 24th. So, made up a little bit of time.
I'm seeing him actually as far up as 22nd, but he also doesn't have his teammates directly with him. Clark Archer and Taft Baldwin got separated slightly by these pit stops, but they are going to double up, and that might bring them a little closer together. I have a feeling we'll see them possibly all move to the high side, get in a train, and take off. Indeed, there goes Christian Challenger to get another lap back. Nick, you might be right. Nick might actually get back into this one. He's going to be, is this 2 laps or 1 lap down now?
I think he's going to go back down to 1 down. I'll see when he comes around to the start-finish line, but I think he's down to 1 lap here.
So the number 73 of Challenger, yes, it looks like it'll be 2 laps, unfortunately. But it's looking more and more feasible. What's the cutoff, you think, for him to have even a shot at this? Maybe 50 laps to go? Does he need to be on the lead lap, Nick?
Yeah, I was gonna say 50 or 60 maybe to be on the to have a shot. He might be able to get away with being 1 lap down at that point, because you still, I mean, if he can stay in the lucky dog position, I suppose, and have a caution with less than 50 to go, but that would be real tight, and I don't think he'd be going for a win at that point, but he would be going for a lot more position.
Oh, you can be 35 laps, 35 cars down and have a big one in front of you, and you can vault your way right up to the top 5. So you're on the lead lap. You got a chance to win this thing.
Super Speedway Racing, never say never. We're going to go green on lap 72 here for the Majors Daytona 500. You're watching the Americas region. We've already had the Asian and the European region have their races earlier today. And now we get to have the finale on a late Sunday night. Green flag is out with Josh Cully taking off and getting a big gap over the cars behind him. Oh, already got a caution.
Big trouble behind him. The 220 getting turned by the 362, it looks like.
Oh, that
or
was
did the 220 blow an engine, actually?
I think you're right. I think you got it, Nick. I think Willis blew an engine.
Yeah.
No. Pajari blew an engine.
Pajari did it, yeah. We're going to watch the replay. A big puff of smoke. That's a lot of cars getting involved, but I don't know if that qualifies as the big one quite yet. This is onboard Alan. Let's listen. A bit of wheel spin too, maybe? Oh no, I think you called it. You just said it was his mistake on shifting over the radio. So that sounds to me like you said, Nick, where maybe he downshifted where he should have upshifted.
Yeah, that's the only thing I could tell from that one. Sounds like on the radio we've just confirmed that as well. It's a shame that it happened there, but if it's any if there's any saving grace for the other guys, we weren't going too fast at the time, so the damage in comparison to what it could have been if it was at full speed is a lot less significant. So some of these guys are going to be able to get away without using their spare car, I think.
Yeah, there was a lot of cars making contact, but for the most part, they all kept going straight. J.D. Willis got into the back there, but you talk about that. You think about what just happened. Pajari spent most of the last stint leading, and now he finds himself in trouble.
Late racing is a cruel mistress for sure, and it can certainly hand you victories, like Bill said a little bit ago, but it can also take them away in the snap of a finger. So we got a little bit more caution to go now. So we're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. We'll come back after this and bring you the second half here of the 2019 Daytona 500. Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway as the lights go out here for our third caution of the day. We're going to get going once again, being led by the likes of Josh Cully up at the front. Last one was due to, we believe, a blown engine from Pajari, who led a number of laps earlier in this race and had to duck in, get his spare car. We did have some pitters, and Bill, I think you said it was the Salami was our highest to come out of those pit stops?
Bill Tromby was last time I checked, but I think maybe J.D. Willis maybe got the best of him now as he sits in, what would that be, 21st position. Willis, one of the few drivers, he gridded in 4th position. When I look at the starting grids from all the cars up front, 6 of them are outside the top 20. Miller, Roush, Smith, Pataska, Clement, Driscoll. Those guys race 3rd through 8th.
I almost feel like you should have listed that as Roush Miller.
Yeah, there you go.
As we come up to turn 3, Thunhorst. I've broken Bill now. We've got Thunhorst on the high side. One of the drivers racing for Alliance. He also has one of his teammates not too far back there. That's Clement, the number 111 Could those two try to come together and see if they can work together? Behind them, don't count out the likes of the Kinetic team. I see at least 3 cars very, very close together. So as the Mustang pace car peels away and allows Cully to take the lead, green flag waves here as we get going once again at Daytona. Both of them jump away very quickly, but Thunhorse ducks down to the low side without hesitation.
Yeah, that looked like that was a plan from Thunhorst and maybe even Cully to get that done. That looked pretty well rehearsed.
Still side by side behind them, but from there on back, it is all single file. The 2 cars on the high side. Trying to make out who those 2 are. Looks like Sam Roush and Dallas Pataska currently being dropped back bit by bit. They're going to have a little bit of a gap once they get to the likes of Vincent Leherbier. Let's see if Pataska decides to duck in.
Pataska might here, and it looks like he will. He has room. Steve Driscoll, the first car back, but that gap getting smaller and smaller for Sam Roush up there on the top side, who's going to be all alone now.
Ooh, and he is dropping fast. Indeed, the unorthodox driver doesn't look like he wants to leave him a gap, and he does not. There's a little bit of one behind him. That's Wayne Hutchison in the 17. Does he dare duck in? No, he does not. He's just going to let it ride all the way to the tail.
Better safe than sorry early here, I suppose. Don't want to make any of those risky moves.
Certainly. In this train, oh, and one car's going to duck up to maybe think about helping him, and I was going to mention him just now. That is Blake Reynolds in the number 1. He hooks up with the likes of Roush.
Not surprised at all to see Blake make that move. We've been seeing him real aggressive, trying to gain some positions, and while he won't probably gain any positions there as of now, just 2 cars on that outside lane, he's only going to lose 1 or 2 spots in line, so not a bad effort there by Reynolds to maybe to convince some more people to come up on the high side here as they duck down low.
And once again, it is single file racing pretty much all through the field. You have to go all the way back to the likes of McGreevy and Wade Hayes back in 17th and 18th, who were racing side by side. And even then, it's just 2 cars with a train working up on the high line to go around them. Getting relatively close to the halfway point now. Only 3 cautions so far is not a bad record. Look at number 651 working their way through 3 and 4 back onto the front stretch. This top group just ticking off the laps. And I haven't seen those teams try to get together quite yet. That would be the likes of Thunhorst and Clement up in the first train of cars that are staying about 2 cars apart from one another.
The first glimpse of double file racing we have seems to be J.D. Willis pushing Jeff Schmeier back here. They're back right inside the top 20.
Yeah, but Jeff, you could have been up front if you would have listened to me, but I think it's working out for you right now.
So far, no retirements out there. All 37 starters are still running. That has been helped by the spare car. I think if we get another big wreck or 2, we might see some fall by the wayside.
Talk about our leader Josh Cully a little bit, a name we're not familiar with, the kind of a throwback to the roots of this series when it was the Northwest Majors, racing out of Idaho. I'm not sure if I've actually ever called a driver racing out of Idaho.
I'm fairly certain we have. After how many broadcasts we do a year, there's got to be one. Up ahead, Thunhorst and Jason K. Miller. Now, that is a name I don't feel that we've seen very prominently here, at least in the majors.
Yeah, that's the Tiger out of Auburn. racing in Alabama there. He's been, since he got up front, qualified in 30th, well, gridded in 30th. Since he got up front, he's been able to stay up here.
And L'Herbier's dropping back. He ducked up very quickly to the high side.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was on purpose or not. It was right coming off of turn 2. So I thought he might have gotten a little bit squirrely there, but they do have relatively fresh tires, so he might just want to be dropping back, maybe find a teammate or something back here.
I think he is finding a teammate. Liam Quinn, you can just barely see to the inside of him, but Quinn does not duck out. And regardless, L'Herbier is going to return in 16th.
It's a long way to go not to be lonely. I mean, all right. Guess finding a teammate is important, but gee. The guy to watch in 6th position, Dallas Pataska, the 023 car. He's a couple car lengths behind Clement. When it's time to go racing, that's the guy to watch.
Yep, we've seen Dallas Pataska show his chops here on the oval side before as well over on the road. Wouldn't be surprised if Dallas became one of our drivers vying for a championship potentially. Because as we've seen, even if you're fast in one discipline, it really is consistent results here in the majors that net you a championship.
Looks like Vincent L'Herbier has found company. He's getting passed right now by a group of 4 cars, it seems. He fell all the way back from that pack back to 16th, and now we've got a little bit of double file action on the backstretch.
Something might be wrong with that car. Would have thought that he'd be able to hold up with the top group. He is getting one of his teammates. That's Wade Hayes. Riding on board with the number 33. We've also got the likes of Kanata in there, as well as J.D. Willis. Ryan McGreevy up on the top side of these 3.
Well, the
and
gap...
L'Herbier... Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay, the gap from Reynolds to L'Herbier is 2 seconds. So I guess maybe Vincent was going to go back there and grab his teammate, get on the back of Blake Reynolds.
That last time by, I saw L'Herbier get really low down on the apron coming off of turn 4. And when he slid out of the pack initially, it was getting a little loose off of turn 2. So just speculating right now, haven't seen too much of him racing tonight, but he might have a little bit of a looser setup there and just can't quite get it going right now.
Got a little action up front now. Samuel Roush taking a look maybe to see the top side work, and he's got a car up on there. That's the 023 of Dallas Pataska. Dallas, what you doing up there?
Well, he ducked out of line and just dropped back. Again, he does have Blake Reynolds back there, but not a teammate with him. Same thing with Roush. Whoa, and the car below them. That was Brent McCoy.
It's still going on.
My goodness, he got all sorts of loose.
By the time he gathers it up, he lost all of his momentum. I think he's going to lose the tail of the train.
We've got the replay. Watch this one. Now, this looked really similar to our first caution where we saw a car hit the apron. Wow, just freight trained.
Yeah, scary moment there for McCoy for sure, but able to hold on to it.
Well, that allows the likes of Reynolds, Roush, Pataska, and now they've got Kinchlow with them to start to get the high side running.
Yeah, Kinchlow just ducked out while we were under replay there. Ducked out from a couple spots up. So definitely interest here in the top 10 or so, or right behind the top 10 to get that outside line going. Now they have to try to work and convince some of the guys ahead of him, this first 7 or 8 guys ahead of him. Maybe the 111, he was peeking out there a little bit. That's Trevor Clement running 5th. A couple of these guys showing a little more interest in the outside, it looks like.
Not anymore. They've all ducked down. As soon as Dallas Pataska went with a low group, the likes of Roush and Reynolds joined him, and poor Lynn Kinchlow finds himself up on the high side with no friends.
It's got to hurt his feelings. He's doing a good job. He's trying to help those guys. They just left him.
Riding shotgun car. gets on through, and then Kinchlow has to duck down at the back of the train of the top 14 cars there in that run from first all the way back to the number 44.
And then right behind him, the car that is in no man's land right now is Brent McCoy. And further back on the backstretch is a larger group of cars that is going to be swallowing him up here very soon, it looks like.
Yeah, yep. McCoy losing touch. That may be like the stepping stone for J.D. Willis to try to bring this next group up.
Yep, he's leading the likes of Kanata, Challoner, Pujari, Hayes, and LaHerbier. They're trying their darndest to run down the front pack. They're getting awful close to the halfway point.
This second pack is not quite as fast as that lead pack, so they're not making much ground on them right now.
Last lap by for J.D. Willis. He's ran a 44.4, a 43.9. Up the lead of the front pack, it was a 44 flat and a 43.9. So they were competitive on the last lap by, but the one before that, not so. They're coming across the line another time. Josh Cully is going to tick off a 43.8 now. Willis, in the meantime, a 43.9. Another 10th slower for the number 362.
See, I can hear the friends and family of Jeff Schmeier now yelling at me. I hear you guys saying, where was that yellow soup you said was coming? Well, it didn't come. So it worked out good for Jeff. Otherwise, he would have been hung out. Schmeier back there in 23rd. Don't listen to the commentators.
I was going to say, remember what I said about you being my crew chief?
Yeah.
I'll tell you who is being hung out right now is Brent McCoy. This pack went completely around him. Didn't allow him. Now he's going to fall in line. It looks like behind LaHerbier, who's gathered himself up as well.
Seems like being caught out by yourself is what you absolutely do not want when it comes to the end of this race, because you are going to drop like a rock. This has been fascinating watching this aero package create the kind of racing that it has, because we're not seeing a whole lot of tandem, not very many cars willing to push. Oh, and we got a caution. And this is the front pack.
51.
Liam Quinn involved.
Oh, yeah,
Steve Driscoll.
Driscoll turned off the nose of Pataska, it looks like.
And speaking of cars not wanting to hook up, yep, they just got a little too close. He went into the side of Wayne Hutchison, and that started a multi-car wreck.
Ooh, that got Reynolds caught up in it as well.
Can we get a view on board Liam Quinn, potentially? I'm going to watch from above just so we can get a good view of everything. Woo!
He almost got by with no contact at all. Just got a little bit there from Driscoll.
Yep, and Liam Quinn's view, the Kinetic driver, did get a little bit of contact, but once again, look at this saving grace. Clipped, and suddenly, going for a ride, into the grass even, and gets it pointed back forward without a full 360.
You know what's interesting? Wayne Hutchison had a trip through the grass. He had the car going straight. When he brought it out onto the oval, it turned and he put it in the wall.
And that means we get pit stops once again. Pretty much all of our top runners are heading in for some service.
Clean stops from everyone so far.
Let's see if anybody takes any risks. The one coming out first is going to be Trevor Clement. Josh Cully going to follow him. I think he jumped him in those stops, actually.
He did.
Smith follows him. Van Horst, and then Miller, your top 5.
I think Clement took 2 tires there.
Left side's only, yeah. Or right side's only, yeah.
Yeah,
So did Cully, though.
I was just going to ask, Nick, if that's a viable strategy around here.
Yeah, it definitely is when it comes to track position. If you feel like you can double stint those left-siders a little bit more, if it's not a full stint both times. A lot of times, that is a common risk that teams take, especially to get up there with your teammate, like we just saw.
That shuffles things around yet again. So we're going to try and collect our thoughts here during a break on the Global Sim Racing Channel. Stick around because we've got even more racing here at Daytona for the 2019 Majors Daytona 500. Welcome back to Daytona Beach, Florida, here in the virtual world. We are now getting ready to start lap 98 after our 4th caution of the day. And leading the way is going to be Trevor Clement for the first time. He managed to jump Josh Cully in those last set of pit stops. Both of them took 2 tires. Going to be interesting to see if either of them sees any sort of difference in performance from that. The drivers that we've been really watching who have been set back quite a bit has been Blake Reynolds. He got a little bit of damage, had to take his spare car. He's sitting in 19th right now. It's been a little bit of a struggle ever since he went to the back of the field with an unscheduled pit stop, if you will, partway into the race. So as the Mustang pace car comes back up to the tri-oval, it's going to duck in. It's going to give Clement the control. He accelerates away. Green flag waves as lap 98 gets started. Big jump on Josh Cully as he starts to get pushed by the likes of Thunhorst up on the high side. As soon as he sees an opening, he gets down low and tries to bring his momentum to that car up front. The Alliance number 111 starts to get a little bit more speed now that he's got some help behind him.
I'll be interested to see if...
Let's go to Christian Dodge, leave the 47. This is Rob Powers. Is this going to bring out the yellow? It does. Now, this was the battle for the lucky dog. This was Powers with Challenger right behind him. They were one lap down. I don't know how iRacing is going to score this. Christian might be in the lucky dog position, although he was involved in the incident.
Yeah, he made contact, so I have to imagine that iRacing is going to count that. He was pushing him through the corner. Nick, everything I've heard from the drivers in the past is that's a bit of a no-no.
Yeah, you normally don't want to lock bumpers too long in the corners. Challenger, of course, being very aggressive to try to get back on that lead lap, but I'm not sure if he's going to get that lucky dog, though, or not. He's in the position, but...
Watch from onboard Steve Driscoll, the unorthodox driver. Looks like he got a view of this. Bunch of smoke, has to take evasive action all the way down into the paved apron. It comes out unscathed, at least in terms of damage this time. You can see he had a little bit on his hood from previous incident. So if they don't give it to Challenger, I believe Pajari will get it and get back on the lead lap.
Those three guys were really battling hard. Remember, Pajari was really fast. He just blew that engine. He was up front.
Number 73 is just ahead of Pajari, even on track, so we'll find out soon enough. There's been a little bit of a spate of cautions mid-race here. That's number 5 that we're experiencing.
Couple takers for the pits, it looks like.
We do indeed. Wonder if tensions are starting to rise, if pressure is starting to go up to try to make forward progress, to make whatever progress you can. Wade Hayes, one of the drivers that came in, Chris Pence, Adam Lindgren is going to take a stop. Taft Baldwin, one of the riding shotgun cars, takes another stop. And Steve Driscoll as well. Looks like he's going to try to get some repairs on that car while he's got a couple yellow flag laps.
And I'm watching the 220 hit the wave around. It did go to Alan Pajari. Indeed, it did not go to Challenger.
So the racing gods are just, I suppose. As Pajari works his way around and gets himself up into 34th, I believe it will be now.
Plenty of time, though. Challenger next in line.
Yep.
He's got nobody else to worry about, so...
Well, you got to think that this is maybe a lesson in patience for the number 73. He was certainly trying to hurry and hustle and do everything he could to get farther up. Maybe hustling a little bit too hard. But we're exactly halfway at 100 laps into this 200-lap race. Your top 5 still Clement in the lead, Cully in second, Eric Smith third, Dallas Pataska back up to 4th, Bill, and Matthew Thunhorst in 5th.
Jeff Smyer in 17th. That's the guy I'm pulling for.
Well, you know, I continue to be impressed by Miller because he started this race in 30th, and he has been running up front. I think this is legit. This isn't a case of, oh well, you know, pit strategy left him up there temporarily. Yeah, he's been riding in the top 10 for, I'd say, a significant chunk of this thing.
Yeah, top 5 really. He's back in 6th right now, but yeah.
A number of big names have found themselves towards the bottom.
You look at those, you go through there, you get a big name, everyone. But Clement is familiar with us. Pataska, we know reason. Thunhorst, of course, been around for a long time.
Cream always rises to the top. And Sometimes, though, you get a few rocks. Looking at the likes of Taft Baldwin pretty far down. Pajari, who seems to be fast, has fallen well to the back. Christian Challenger with his woes is back there. Now, in the real life, they run this race in the evening. Usually, don't they? Here, they've been running it at about 6, a little past 6 in the afternoon. So I don't think we'll get sundown. Maybe right about get a little bit of sunset when we get to the checkered flag.
They do 2 at Daytona. I think they do the July race at night. I think Daytona, though, the 500 is pretty much a daytime race.
I might be thinking of one of the ones where the 500 got delayed, is what I'm thinking of.
In years past, they've started the 500 later and later, so it starts in like 2:30 or 3 now. So the last couple of years, it's finished under the lights to an extent.
And when you run into the back of a fire truck or part of the pavement starts to come up, it can slow the race down a bit.
This is true. This is true. You can see the shadows getting longer, though. And with the banking here, that can affect how the track heats up. Another thing the drivers will need to keep track of as they go double file once again. All right, we've gotten a few cautions. It's been a little bit messy. I have to imagine the drivers are getting some of their teammates, maybe their crew chiefs, getting in their ear saying, you got to calm down a little bit. We just got to ride this one out. Don't do anything crazy. We got half the race left to go. Let's get to where we could really fight for the win as they come on to the super stretch, following behind that Mustang pace car. It's been a long while that these drivers in the majors have spent here at Daytona. Last round was the Daytona 2.4. That was on the road course that they ran that. Multi-class, as we mentioned earlier, running the Corvette DP as well as the GTE cars and a couple of the GT3 cars out there competing. From here, though, we finally go to somewhere else in Florida.
Yeah.
Going to Sebring in one of my favorites, the Camel GT cars, late 80s sports cars.
To check out of my simulated motel room that I always check into this time of month because we do so much here.
You're not just going to stay there and make the ride down to Sebring?
Nope, we're done. I'm going to new place.
All right, pace car pulls off, and Clement backs them up a little bit and gets a big launch. Again, this is not the wisest of maneuvers. Look at, this is one of the messiest restarts we've seen in terms, besides the drivers getting into one another on that one, as everybody tries to sort themselves out, mostly single file as they head through 1 and 2, but a couple cars up high, unsure of what they've got themselves into.
Stab now in the 50, we're trying to find a place to go. He's going to be able to tuck in behind J.D. Willis now.
That's Pataska, just below the likes of Josh Cully.
I think Clement was trying to time that with Cully there so that Cully could duck down and get a spot. But Cully, I think, had the bad restart there and wasn't able to get down with him.
Well, now he's slipped back to 5th, so not too bad a damage as long as you're with that top group. I'd say you're golden. We're starting to get going again. I think we've made more laps than the last restart. Fans of our current champion, Blake Reynolds, well, he's down in 19th, but he's starting to lose touch with that top group. He's with 3 cars, Josh Kanata and Lance Nasir ahead and behind him respectively. And now they're regaining ground on the likes of Jess Schmeier, who sits in 17th.
Challenger comfortably in the lucky dog position right now with no worries of that.
They come across the tri-oval, complete another lap. Go ahead.
Challenger does have Brian Halleck behind him. Only a little bit of room there. So Halleck might, if he doesn't lose that draft, might cause an issue for Challenger there.
Rest easy. There is no way Brian Halleck is getting around Tristan Challenger. Brian, I love you, but that's just not going to happen. Irony
of ironies, Challenger is sat up behind Alan Pajari. It's Going to try and use him to draft ahead of the likes of Chris Pence so that he can get down low. And to his credit, Pajari's staying up high with him. I think he knows who the fast drivers are.
Yeah.
Give him a little shove. Now he's able to get in line. And that'll keep him a lot safer from the likes of Brian Halleck to try and get that lap back.
If there's any silver lining to Brian Halleck here, Soup's predictions have been a little subpar tonight so far, so he still definitely has a shot.
Again, I'm not making any friends today. I'm sure all the Halleck friends and family are saying, why is Soup giving me such a hard time?
Boy, I tell you what, Blake Reynolds, he just ducked down into a tiny little hole, but he makes it work. He ran the high side with a few cars and got himself up to 14th now. So all my doomsaying was for naught. He is now within the group and relatively high up compared to what he's been running for much of this race.
And he's got a teammate of Lance Nasir right behind him, so that's definitely going to help. They might be able to springboard their way up and side draft a little bit if they want to be more and more aggressive. And it looks like the 44 of Lynn Kinchelow, he was on the outside earlier. He definitely would like to go out there as well, I believe, in the future.
Oh, but the 55 is going to beat him to it. That is Chuck Chambliss. He's going to bring Reynolds with him and some more friends. Nasir jumps up, as well as the driver Vincent Laherbier. He's going to try and grab hold of the back of these cars.
Look at that, Chambliss already got 2 cars. Now let's see if he hangs Reynolds out or if he's going to stay out there. Oh no, we're going to get a little help. People are liking the top side. That's Samuel Roush going up top.
This is one of the first times during the race we've seen the top side start to be favorable because they are making progress.
Here we go.
Wow, significant progress. Now look at this. Halfway
and
was
Willis.
the magic mark.
Yeah.
But behind them, it's getting a little shaky. Some drivers jumping up a little bit late. I think that was McCoy who got in front of Nasir. Nasir jumped down to the low side to make sure he didn't have his momentum interrupted.
And Cully will go with them, and Pataska as well.
We're seeing some fast drivers elect to hit the top side. Clement is leading the way, but for how much longer?
Nick, a lot of those cars farther back took 4 tires. Might that have an effect? Or do you think not?
It definitely could on the outside, but I don't know if it would be this noticeable. I mean, they are hauling it on the outside right now.
Hauling the mail. And could we see a lead change up on the top side? Not quite this lap, at least. Regardless, Pataska is now clearly alongside the likes of the 111 Clement.
Maybe it's just a testimony to the pace of Trevor Clement. Maybe he's just not that quick.
And this is where I think it's getting a little bit dangerous. I don't know about you, Nick.
There they go.
Who is that ducking off? Bennett into the grass, has to take to the bus stop. Goes all the way back, but no caution. Great save there by the number 71. Did he get some help? Let's watch from above. It looked from onboard like he had a shove.
Yeah, I think he got a tap to the back coming off at turn 2 there. Didn't see who it was, though. We'll take a look here.
There's no one behind him. Maybe it's from the side. Oh, it's the side, yeah. It might have been
Brent McCoy.
Interesting. Well, they're still side by side with the front, but the top side has started to thin out. And the one thing I noticed that scared me a little bit, Nick, was it looked like Pataska was maybe trying that side draft a little bit. And the net code worries me when drivers start to try to get sneaky like that.
Yeah, it definitely, that's always a concern here in iRacing and on the plate tracks. Just running at such high speeds, so close together, and it's so hard to tell, you know, just how, or just where you are on the track and how safe it is. But there he comes again on the backstretch here, given a little bit of room there, but we have seen him in the last couple of laps, him and a couple other drivers trying to get a little side draft. Pataska and Josh Cully right behind him, pushing him hard on the backstretch there.
Up on the top side, that's Blake Reynolds back third in line in the number 1 car. Remember, he is our current reigning champion for the Daytona 500 from last year here, at least in the Americas. It used to be the Pacific region that he won. So where is Mickey? Remember, he was the other winner over in the European side last year. He's out here today. Haven't looked at him in a long time, and he's down in 29th. Well, he's still got a lot of time to try and climb up there. Meanwhile, up the high side, Pataska had enough that he was actually a nose ahead by the time they hit turn 3. There's only 3 cars up there and a big wash up wide for the second in line on the bottom side.
Gonna lead the lap.
It was Eric Smith who we saw almost get into the side of Josh Cully. And now down low, there goes Dallas Pataska.
Yeah, a little bobble there from Eric Smith. He hit the apron there on the trioval, and that trioval is a real tight place to be. It gets really narrow through there, and it's one of the fastest places on all of the track, too.
And there goes Blake Reynolds. He dragged the brakes slightly, fell back into the first gap that he saw. He didn't like the looks of this top group going away. Going to put a lap on Adam Lindgren, but everybody goes single file, so this should be pretty easy.
That lap on Adam Lindgren, though, is big news. That now puts Christian Challenger not in the lucky dog position.
Well, Challenger is towards the front of this group.
Oh, he may pass you, right, Joe. He may.
Yeah.
Coming, he may pass him for real.
Yeah, indeed. He's got a whole lot more speed than the number 425, who continues to fall backwards. There we see Challenger using the blue machine. All he has to do is slip by, and he's got that lucky dog back.
There you go.
Crisis averted. Indeed, he likes that bottom line so much, he gets in among it. Now that he doesn't have to worry about being the first car a lap down.
If you're new to watching us here on GSRC, you may be wondering why we focus so much attention on Challenger. We've just seen him do some remarkable stuff, and to scratch him off is foolish.
Second in the championship, the Drivers' Championship last year, is I think, explanation enough. And one of the most, I would almost argue, the most competitive region out of all 4 that we saw last season. And that's proving true again here with it now becoming the Americas and it being narrowed down to 3. As we mentioned, 5 splits here. And even real-world former professional race car drivers, former champions, locked out of the pro split. Things getting calm once again, though. Is this before the storm? Or will we see drivers just riding it out until we get to the next pit stop? It's been about 22, 23 laps for most of these cars up at the front.
They've been single file for the last handful of laps, but man, when they were double filed, they got going real quickly. So anytime, I wouldn't be surprised to see one person just step out of line and get a whole train of cars come with them.
You know, the fascinating thing about this team's championship is we were watching the team that has now won 4 of them, the Alliance car of Trevor Clement. They don't look as dominant this year. We tend to see a bunch of yellow and black at the front of the field. And though there is some, it's conspicuous how mixed it is this time compared to previous years.
Well, I remember recalling races seemed like they were filling up the top 5. It was just really that crushing.
And even riding shotgun, who've been notorious for being one of the strongest teams on the oval side, are not showing quite as well.
There is a little bit of an effort to get an outside lane going. Vincent Laherbier is the most recent driver to move up and take control of that top lane, but it was Taft Baldwin leading that for the last 3 or 4 laps. We're getting more and more cars up there.
Yep, 2 riding shotgun cars in the form of Baldwin and Knight. We've also got Sam Roush in there. Challenger's deciding he's liking the looks of this, and he's joined in, but now some of them have ducked down. Knight joins the low side. A couple others behind them start to pop up. Andrew Oakey decides to join them.
Lynn Kinchlow in front of him is going to join them as well. And Kinchlow is a driver that we have seen try the outside lane multiple times in this race. If Kinchlow can get himself in a position late in this race, look for him to be a threat on that outside.
Another lapped car finding himself have to tuck to the high side.
Challenger gets by.
That's Brian Bennett that they're streaming through. Yep, that does indeed put Challenger back into the lucky dog position. Isn't that how it works, though, Bill? He keeps finding himself back up in the lucky dog when he needs it. There's no cautions now.
Yeah. I think things settled down a little bit. I'm just going to think that maybe Pataska maybe had a little better pace than Clement did. That's why they're single file. I think Clement was a little bit off the pace. That's why they got excited about going too wide.
Yeah, he's been holding that front spot for a little bit now. It's been about 18 laps since the green fell the last time, and we restarted.
Yeah, don't forget all this hard racing. A couple of these guys trying to get them situated side by side up here further back in the field. We're only about a dozen or 15 laps or so away from green flag pit stops potentially.
Ooh, and if they have 2 rows, that's going to be interesting. We might get 3 rows.
Maybe 3.
Ooh, that's Jeff Stabnow on the bottom. Thunhorst, and up on the high side, that was Nasir, but he ducks back down low once he realizes what was going on. Didn't want any part of that.
I'm not so sure if he wanted to go 3 wide or just didn't want to check up. I think he just didn't want to back up in anybody, so he decided to go wide and then slow it down a bit. That was some good racing.
That would be my guess. Now, we talked about the weather a little bit earlier because we had a little bit of cloud cover, and it is getting kind of dark at moments with clouds poking in and out. Since I looked earlier, it's actually cooled a significant amount. It was 83, 84 degrees earlier in the race. It's now down to 77. And that's track temperature, by the way.
Driscoll goes a lap down. Challenger able to go around him.
Man, Chuck Chambliss just had a big moment there in the tri-oval. Got down on the apron, slid, and a good save by him.
Let's watch the replay of the 55. Right on board. Wow, the tiniest of touches. The Apex driver gets it going once again.
Hey, look who's leading the top line here.
And it's Blake Reynolds once again. What lap was that that extended pit stop for Blake Reynolds?
It was this stint. It was just whatever it was on about 24 laps ago, I guess.
No. When early on in the race, the one that sent him all the way back.
Oh, that's right.
Lap 40, I'm saying? I'm not sure.
47, maybe?
Yeah, I think you're right. It was under caution. So it took him roughly 80 laps to get back to the front. That is some incredible patience.
Yeah. Well, hopefully the tires and the bladder hold out to the end.
Right now, he's trying to hold out to the first spot. The number 1 car leads the high side, tries to tuck it down to see if he can get that side draft on the lower cars. But the Alliance driver behind him, Thunhorst, isn't tucked up underneath him. He has to drop back.
Seeing a lot more of that side drafting we were talking about earlier, trying to get that other lane slowed down a little bit to move yourself up, and it's getting a little bit dicey up here.
Did we see another caution before we get to these green flag pit stops? We're up to 31, 32 laps now. Just got to make it 10 more laps, boys.
Dunhurst bails on that plan, so now Reynolds has Nasir behind him.
And Blake certainly dropped back quickly.
Oh, look at the 409 give a bump draft to Reynolds. Here we go.
That was a big push down the back stretch.
That served the purpose that he needed, because I thought that top train was done, and now they are back in the hunt to take the lead away. We ride on board with Nasir, seeing if he can push the Texan up to the lead. It's been hard going so far. Lap 127, around 1 and 2. He's up side by side with the number 111 of Clement, almost pushing him down to the line.
Nasir has no one behind him right now, so that's making it hard for him to get up to the back of the one car.
Still, they're holding station. They have not fallen back too badly. That's J.D. Willis who's trying to get up to the back of Nasir. They've also got the riding shotgun teammate of Reynolds, Taft Baldwin, back there on the high side, fourth in the line. And look at this. Christian Challoner is in there. He might get his lap back the hard way. He's going to pull a Bill Elliott. My goodness. And just like that, our black stripe drivers show why they've got that pro rating.
Boy, it's hard to commentate and watch at the same time. I'm watching the 409 of Nasir. He's so close to getting on the back of Reynolds.
Now, while there are tiny little gaps behind this big group, there's not, the main pack is essentially all one together. Nobody's really dropping off significantly, it looks like. We could see most of them gather back up to the cars ahead.
Yeah, everyone's sticking together here pretty nicely. It's going to be interesting to see if they're still too wide when the time for pit stops comes up. That would be interesting to see.
I think you're going to start to see drivers try to find a hole in line when they see it's getting close to pit stops. But so far, this top group is still insistent on trying to make it work. And once again, we have no retirements yet of 37 starters. What an amazing accomplishment, 130 laps into a plate race. Blake Reynolds still leads the top side, but it's Dallas Pataska who holds P1 overall. Ever since Dallas has moved ahead of Clement, he's been firmly in that front spot. Wow, that was a good run.
32 of Eric Smith doing a great job pushing Clement down there at the bottom as well. He's splitting up those Alliance cars down there.
Ooh, now the top row, Nick, like you said, now they're starting to get close together. Nasir getting a little help from the guys behind him.
And it worked. Oh, and down to the low side immediately goes Blake Reynolds. Despite making the top side work, it doesn't seem like he is confident enough to try and stick with it.
I'm a little surprised he left his teammate out there, Lance Nasir.
Is Lance on riding shotgun? Oh, so he is, I am informed. Not using the paint that I was expecting.
Yeah.
Wonder if that's going to be a team fine for him afterwards. Not wearing the wood. Still, that top side is holding out. The number 409. trying to make it work, being held along by Willis behind him, and Taft Baldwin. Roush fourth in line. Christian Challenger, the car trying to get the lucky dog, banking his hopes to see if the upper lane can keep him in the right spot.
Let's give credit to the 409 Nasir. Once Reynolds bailed on him, I thought it might be bad news for the top side, but doing okay.
All right, we are now 38 laps in for a lot of these top drivers. And they're still too wide. It is about to get very, very interesting.
Yeah, we are right there.
They're going to go 3 wide momentarily. This is Bennett. They're going to put another lap on. The lap traffic and just all the cars in general have really impressed me with how they've dealt with that. And in years past, that's caused a few incidents. So far, it's been no drama.
So far, indeed, and everyone doing a great job sticking to that outside line. 3 wide gets pretty hairy at Daytona at times. It's a lot more manageable at a place like Talladega. But here at Daytona, it's a little narrow in a lot of parts of the track. But the lead pack has caught them all good parts so far.
And
the 409.
Woohoo! What comes around goes around. Nasir gets the run, and he immediately takes the lead away from Blake Reynolds, ducking down low. It's become a conveyor belt of pushing a car up front and replacing the top spot. Are we going to see it again? The number 5 gives the number 362 a big shove, but as they hit 3 and 4, not typically where we've seen cars finally get to the front.
Yeah, Reynolds let him in there, I think.
Top line beginning to thin out a little bit as it's getting real close to pit stop time. This is 41 laps on this stint. Now, some of those were under yellow.
Gonna go by Driscoll. You're gonna see the unorthodox car get out of the way. Now we've got Willis trying to get up to the front ahead of Nasir, but can't quite get the momentum going. Who among our group is going to come in this time? It's 41 laps. It'll be 42 if we go by this time. And I don't see any takers.
I definitely expect to see the 409 of Nasir, the 5 of Baldwin, and the 1 of Reynolds come in together, but when it will be, I don't know.
They would announce it, wouldn't they, Nick, that you'd come over and let people know in this case, right?
They definitely might. They've probably got a plan between, amongst themselves handled out, but they might keep that private or might make it public. There's only one guy behind him, Sam Roush, so they might do it unexpectedly.
Indeed, it is riding shotgun 1, 2, 3. And they're going to stay out, but I see an Alliance car going in. A couple Alliance cars going in, some of them locking up the brakes. Ooh, it's getting awful tight. It is a string of cars coming in under green. And now it is really a rush to see who can be the fastest in their pit stall. Anybody missing out, coming too far in? Looks like Schmeier, the only one to miss out, had to back up and get it sorted out.
Schmeier hit the wall, actually. The pit road wall, it looks like.
Oof. Not been a happy day for him. Now riding shotgun comes in as well. And Roush. Oh, Roush coming in very hot. Almost gets into the grass. I wonder, though, if he got a speeding penalty.
I think he did there. That was really fast.
Yeah, he was 70, almost 80 miles an hour past the cones. and it was a while before he got it woed up to 55. In fact, he's gone completely through. He didn't stop at his stall at all.
Chris Pence is your leader. He stayed out.
Oh, and Roush is actually sliding on the apron right now. Comes down into the grass, and he is all out of sorts.
Got airborne over the access road. We'll get to it in a second. We've got a replay later on. The rest of our field coming back out onto the line. Pence still needs to take his stop, I believe. Yes, he does.
Yep.
So does Wade Hayes. The leader of those who've pitted is it Pajari? No, it's not. Nasir.
Oh, and there's the yellow. This is bad news for Chandler because he's not a lap. No yellow.
No caution because he's off the racing line. That was McCoy. McCoy losing multiple positions. Let's watch what happened with McCoy. Many drivers warned that it is slippery coming out on these cold tires. Woo! Now let's take a look at Roush coming into his... I guess we're going to watch him go over the grass first.
Very similar situation. I think Roush was just trying to get it gathered back up, wound back up quickly, and just a little bit of tire spin down there where the track is so flat on the apron.
Ooh, wow, yeah, just slowly started to come around from there, that lurid spin. My goodness, what a leap. That could have easily damaged the car.
That's the Joker lap here at Daytona.
Hayes led a lap. He came in. Is it Nasir, I believe, is going to be our leader when it's all said and done? I think so.
Yes, indeed. He's followed by two of his teammates, Baldwin and Reynolds. Here's those team tactics. They've found each other, and they've made a gap, but it's not much. Dallas Pataska leads Smith and Clement. Excuse me, no, Smith and Challoner.
Challoner. He's a lap down still. But Challoner was able to dodge the bullet there. There were many cars a lap down when Pence stayed out and Hayes stayed out. That all cleared up.
I'm going to have to nickname him Neo, because my goodness, two cars within a lap almost wrecking, and neither one got a caution. So, that brings us to an interesting final quarter of the race, because the top five are pulling away. Trevor Clement does have some help, though. It's two Alliance drivers, Thunhorst and Trevor, that could work their way forward to try and catch the top cars, but they got a long gap to do it.
One more stop for everybody if we stay green.
And that is where the strategy might get really fascinating. Who is going to stop when? And how will the final stint of fuel work in favor of which driver? Because, as we said, only about 40 to 45 laps that you can go. Do we see someone maybe risk a short stint here?
I think you might. I think if you get around that late lap 150s, lap 160 area, that might be, if everything seems calm on the track, might be a good opportunity to pit. If you're not a team like Riding Shotgun and you're trying to advance your position up there.
Bill, I remember I mentioned those two Alliance drivers trying to catch the lead. It was 2 seconds just a bit ago. It's now 1.3.
Yeah.
I'd say they are a-coming.
Clement and Thunhurst, the cars look pretty lined up like that, and they are fast. But they're not alone with fast guys. J.D. Willis is also quick.
Now, there's no I in team until we get to the last lap. When the white flag flies, I'm curious to see how many of them actually work together, or if it'll be every man for himself.
There's an I in win, so yeah, I think that's what's going to happen.
Still, you can see Challenger was at the back of that group, but this is the second group that we're watching. Clement Thunhorst, that's also got J.D. Willis in there. The Kinetic Racer of Liam Quinn holding on to them. Jeff Stabnow and Chuck Chambliss back to 11th. From there, it is a monstrous gap of about 4 seconds to 12th place. Josh Cully, who only has a mere 2 cars helping him.
Now, mind you, it took a full stint, a little less than a full stint for Challenger to go from the back of the field to get up to the front. That's what he's basically going to have to do again if he gets the yellow to come out. He'll have to do it one more time, but it can be done. We've seen it do it. He's racing right now in, well, he's in 27th, but it's basically 6th on the track.
Yeah, we know he's got the speed. He's just got to get on the lead lap and work his way up there. And he might, once he gets on the lead lap, might be able to team up with a couple more guys.
Right, but he's beginning now to run out of time. He needs to have the yellow so he has time to do the work that he can do. Here come Clement and Thunhorst, though.
Does he have any kinetic friends around, though? I'm trying to think. Is Eric Smith a kinetic driver? What team is he on? He's a V Apex driver, so not related. Here comes that second group up to the high side. But one of our kinetic drivers is in there. That's Liam Quinn. So here's a question. Could Quinn maybe try to hook up with Challenger, see if he can get him past the leaders and not have to worry about a lucky dog?
Yes, there's 2 purposes. Quinn gets to the front. Challenger gets his lap back. Challenger moves to the outside right now. I think he's listening to the broadcast, going to do this on the top side.
Quinn doesn't follow him, so his teammate's not going to go along. He's going to use the Alliance drivers instead.
Look at those Alliance drivers, though. My gosh.
Yeah, they are pedaling out there on that outside line.
They're racing like they're in an Alliance.
Oh, but coming up for the block. Very coordinated, too. Every single one. Oh, my goodness. Clement down in front of Pataska with a paper's worth between them. That was almost disaster. Let's watch from Dallas's view.
And I think that caught Matthew Thunhorst off guard as well, who was pushing Trevor Clement on the outside, and he's going to lose a lot of positions because of this.
From on board, that would have made my heart race for sure. I'll watch it one more time from above here. That was so sudden, too. I mean, when he made that move, he was very sure that there wasn't going to be a car there.
What impresses me, too, is Blake Reynolds' just race awareness to pull up to the outside line and say, enough from you guys. Your run stops here.
I don't know if it was just Reynolds, though. All 3 cars at the same time ducked up. That was absolutely a team call that said, here comes the Alliance, guys. Let's break the speed. And it was effective. You got to give them credit. Thunhorst, unfortunately, fell back because of that. I think you're right, Nick, that Thunhorst did not know that was coming. He fell back to the second group because of that move.
Yeah, there was no room for him to do anything. He couldn't go down low and follow his teammate and Trevor Clement there. So riding shotgun definitely knew what they were doing there. Like you said, definitely a team call there to break up the Alliance, and that's exactly what they did.
Well, bad news for Challenger. Pajari goes a lap down. However, he's on the high side. So as long as we don't get a caution here in the next few seconds, I think Challenger might be able to get through. But the Texan, oh, he's got a heap of speed. He's following the likes of Halleck, and he's not playing ball. We're now 3/4 of the way through the race. Jeff Stabnow getting a little bit vocal. He's in this group, the last in the train. behind Thunhorst.
So, I was doing a little multitasking there. Pajari now in the lucky dog position?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
He is, but for how much longer? Challener's now up alongside him. And again, we're watching this because both these drivers we know are fast. Both are going to want to be able to get back to the front. But they got to be on the lead lap to do that. Now it goes back to Challener.
Yeah, they're not going to let Alan in.
Certainly not. He falls to the back of the train. He's safe once again.
You know, we're on the iRacing Esports Network. They got to be happy with that 409 out there. That's a nice paint scheme for them. Big iRacing driver on the hood. iRacing on the side.
He's really cleaning up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you didn't get that one. Anyways, as they continue to tick off the laps, it's getting towards the end of the race now, and it's getting to be more cutthroat.
He's in the 409. I got it. Okay.
Cleaning up. There you go. All right. Sometimes I'm a little obtuse. I'm sorry. As they work their way through 1 and 2. Our leader is still Nasir, we should point out. He's been up ahead of Baldwin and Reynolds. Reynolds is usually the point man in this team. But again, it's a new season. Very few points on the board. Blake Reynolds may be the current reigning champion, but he's been riding behind.
Be interested to see if anyone utilizes that short pit strategy we were talking about, because we're getting to that time of the race when that is a possibility.
Hey, look at the 220 again. That's Alan Pajari. He is back in the mix.
He's trying to make that high side work. I think he knows the stakes, especially this late in the race. Yeah, you have to imagine with how smart both those drivers are, that they're aware and realize what they have to do.
Challenger just gave a punch to J.D. Willis.
Let's get going.
Yeah.
Let's move this thing.
Honestly, the race for the lucky dog gets more exciting than the race for the lead right now. They are side by side.
For the moment, I'd actually absolutely agree. Until we get a few more laps in, these two could potentially be in this thing. It's just going to take a Herculean effort if we can get a caution. But I think another 10 laps, and then these cars are looking like they are out of luck from then on out.
Pajari had an opportunity to drop down there. Liam Quinn was in the 24, and he was giving him enough room, but that opportunity has gone away now.
I think he'll drop down, but only if he's ahead of the 73.
Still no takers for an early stop. That would be stretching the fuel quite a bit too much, I would say, unless you're really riding in the back. But it's mostly single file in the top group, running all the way back to the likes of Jeff Stabnow in 11th, along with some hangers-on who are a lap down, fighting for that lucky dog.
Eric Smith in the 32 was taking a little bit of a peek to the outside. He might be getting that engine cooled down a little bit.
Ooh, look at this. Now, is this clever or a silly mistake from Challenger? He jumps up to the top. It does ensure that he's ahead of Pajari, but he could continue to fall backwards in this group. But all he really cares about is that he's ahead of that purple and white car.
That's it, Joe. I think that's it. Just got to be careful if Pajari drops all the way back and then gets in the low line and then goes underneath them.
Well, that might actually happen now.
Yeah.
Big blink on my screen from Brian Halleck, though.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know about that call there from Challenger there.
And Matt Thunhorst had another blink himself,
that was a big
and
one.
ducked out of line. Well, he's gotten in front of Challenger. Let's watch the replay on this one. A couple of drivers complaining about the connection issues we're seeing. We'll get a good view of Thunhorst. This is one of the pitfalls, if you will, of sim racing. This is all online. All these drivers are literally around the world. Wow, he goes away for a long time.
Yeah, everything on my end blinked out there for a moment as well. And right now, what has just happened is Christian Challenger, all of these drivers that had to check up for that little blink, Challenger was able to drop down, but Pajari was already there. So Halleck is in between them, but they find themselves on the bottom line.
So for those keeping score, Challenger is still the lucky dog if we get a caution, but we're not seeing any. It's been a long stretch of green flag racing. Actually, we haven't had a caution since it was just past the 100 mark, wasn't it?
Yeah, they've been out there for 60 laps or so.
And this is the longest period we've seen of these drivers running without a caution, which is exactly when Challenger does not want it. Thunhorst finally gets back down to the bottom side, and now the top side is only Challenger and Pajani.
They may decide to just do it themselves. Let's go up there and race around the leader, both of them.
And excuse me, it's Pajari, not Pajani. Misspoke there.
There goes Pajari, though, back down to the bottom. That's really going to hurt Challenger. I think Pajari in the 220 is going to be able to take that spot away. But the 6 is going to move back out to help Challenger. And the 220 as well will follow him.
This is getting a little bit spicy between these two. Trying to do everything they can, use every trick in the book.
Challenger back to the bottom.
There's room for Pajara if he wants it, but he's not going to go underneath.
It is now 38 laps to go. I'd say if any driver wants to pit early, they can do it now.
Challenger and Pajari trying to position themselves for the caution, but if they're not careful, they're going to be the caution here soon.
They are coming up on a few more lapped cars, and it's going to be a little bit more complicated because this is going to be a group. It's Wade Hayes, Brent McCoy, and Clark Archer all together. And if they stay too wide, again, we talked about that 3 wide around here. Still the likes of Halleck, Pajari, and Challenger up on the top side. Not seeing many of the cars on the lead lap, though, deciding to try and make a second row.
Not now, yeah.
Too early to go?
Yeah.
And I think everyone has that fear of someone short pitting right now, so they want to be on that bottom row, which be prepared if someone does.
Now, we haven't really been paying attention to much behind this top 11 lead lap cars, but as you can see back here, we've got a second group being led by Josh Cully, and they are all single file. They are working together very, very well. I think they are trying to catch the lead pack at this point.
Remember, Cully spent a lot of time out front leading this race.
Cully actually started this race in 9th place, so yeah, he's a fast driver. 36 laps to go now. Still no takers for an early stop. Nick, is it possible that if you're with the front group to duck out and get back out on the lead lap, or are you going a lap down no matter what?
Right now the gap, it's close. I think they'd go a lap down, but I think they might be able to get it back pretty easily.
Not sure if we'd have any risk takers up at the front group.
Yeah, not sure if it's worth that risk right now. Still just on lap 165 right now.
The sun continues to set here at Daytona Beach. The track temperature continues to drop. Whose setup is better in these cooler conditions? It is only 75 now out on the surface of the tarmac. That high line being led by the likes of Halleck, but they've lost Challoner. He gets down inside, well within the mid-pack of the top group, actually. And that should keep him fairly safe because it's only two cars with Halleck and Pajari trying their best to get back up there, but it's not quite working.
Yeah, Challoner did a good job of fending off Pajari. Now he looks pretty comfortable where he is.
So where's the next car to go a lap down? That is Clark Archer. We mentioned he's with McCoy and Hayes still. They're being caught, but it's not at a rapid pace by our leaders.
Yeah, this is going to be a little different than when they try to lap a solo car. These guys are doing pretty good. It's going to take them a while to get there, and when they do get there, it'll be interesting to see if any of the leaders decide to pull out and fill up behind them.
Got a few more laps before they get to them, most likely. They're working together pretty well on that three-car train. We get little glimpses of them on the cameras before they disappear. We're getting close to about, it looks like 3.5 hours for this race so far. No, excuse me, 2.5 hours. It's been pretty fast. Daytona 500. A mere 5 cautions, I believe we've had.
Riding on board from the leader, looking back. We talked about Lambert getting the win from Canada. Well, how about this guy? That'll work.
Another Canadian.
Yeah.
Number 409. And it's not just, I guess, the other states that they've been bringing people in here for the riding shotgun team, but other countries as well. We're going to hit 30 laps to go next time we cross the line. And we're starting to get towards the end of that fuel cell for most drivers. 30 laps into this stint. Most of the top group.
Yeah, that whole short pit we were talking about, not really going to be a viable strategy if they all stay out there. I think that's their plan right now.
Now, for the viewers, when you look at that front train of cars up there, only 11 of them are on the lead lap.
And you got to wonder, actually, who of the different teams has friends in those lapped cars, too? Because there's, I mean, this isn't F1 rules. There's nothing that says they got to duck out of the way and leave the leaders alone. They can get in the mix and help their teammate or hurt their rivals' teams if they want to, throw a block. So that could very much play a part in the final laps. I know of the lapped cars that we have up in this top group. We've got Challoner, who's with Kinetic. We've got Rob Powers, and I'm not sure what team he's with. We've got Pajari. And actually, I don't know who Pajari is racing for either. Bennett's racing for Alliance. And Halleck in the number 6. I'll have to check my stats to see what team he's racing for. Also not racing for a team, it looks like, for Halleck. Apparently for the Sleep Aid team. The 3 Z's. Nobody liked that joke in the booth. I didn't get any laughs in here.
We're 3 hours into this thing. Got to be funnier than that. But got dark out there. We got a cloud over.
Yeah, the cloud came over, and boy, the lights can come on around here. They do have the night version here in iRacing. Not all of the oval tracks have that.
Track temp down to 75.
Probably only going to get colder because look at how much cloud cover we're getting now. We ride on board with 5th place Dallas Pataska, riding behind the likes of Clement. Blake Reynolds won it last year. Can he do it 2 in a row?
And they really are closing in on that group of 3 cars as well. Archer, McCoy, and Hayes. They have Kanata in between them. But after Kanata, it's going to be those 3 cars within the next handful of laps, I think.
Going to be close if they get there before the pit stops.
I think it's going to be pretty soon, actually. They're really closing in on them.
Well, I mean, would that be a case where when they start to close in on that group pit anyways? It would avoid the complications.
Yeah, they might. It's possible.
Well, they're going to catch Kanata with him being a lone car. A lot easier to run him down. That won't be too much of an issue. The number 97 just takes his side up close to the wall, and everybody's going to stream through. We're 36 laps into this fuel stint. It's getting towards the end of it. Golden hue of the Florida sun setting lower and lower, extending the shadows around here as they tick off yet another lap. Couple more seconds, still up to the likes of Archer, McCoy, and Hayes. Our lead group has Lance Nasir up at the front, and it's been that way for a number of laps now. Taft Baldwin has been dutifully following his teammate in 2nd place. P3 has Blake Reynolds, last year's winner. I'm losing my voice here at the end. Running in 3rd. Trevor Clement is in P4, and Dallas Pataska rounds out your top 5. I see one taker. Vajari. He's going to give up the ghost and trying to get that lucky dog.
He's going to be all by himself, though. That's going to be the big thing that hurts him here, I think.
Not what you want to see in a plate race. A single car under green flag conditions, lonely pulling into his stall.
Because Challoner's still out there with this whole group.
And he's still going to get that lucky dog. About this time by, they come off of 4, and the riding shotgun drivers are in. They bring along the likes of Eric Smith and Chuck Chambliss. This is going to hand the lead over now to Trevor Clement. Dallas Pataska bumped up to 2nd place. J.D. Willis now in 3rd. Liam Quinn 4th, and Jeff Stabnow in 5th. Stabnow trying to get a little bit of help from Thunderhorst.
Nasir is going to lead the group off of pit lane. Baldwin, Smith, Reynolds.
Oh, and is it just me? Did Chambliss gain a few spots there? What if he took 2 tires? Or no, he did not. Excuse me. There was another car that he was racing out. Meanwhile, the other cars are responding who are in the lead pack. Thunhorst is in. Brian Bennett, J.D. Willis.
Chambliss actually had an awful time in the pits there. He came in, slid all the way to his left, hit the wall, and then kind of got stuck on the wall trying to resituate himself there in the box.
Nasir and the riding shotgun guys are coming around now.
Other guys are rolling. First out, it's Mirtz Hutchison.
And
no,
still waiting.
Yeah.
Still waiting on Pataska to be in and out, are we? Or yes, he's still yet to pit. He's actually towing the likes of Challoner along with him.
Looks like J.D. Willis is the first out. He's ahead of Stab now. Here they come. The 409, they get Baldwin. The Sear gets Stab now. And right up on J.D. Willis gets him as well.
It's not the lead yet, but effectively we believe the lead for Lance Nasir. Baldwin potentially second. But look at this. Eric Smith finds himself tucked between a riding shotgun sandwich. Tasca takes his stop. Challoner goes with him. And Chris Pence comes in. So this leaves now wait a minute. Has Liam Quinn taken his stop? Oh, Liam Quinn has come out very fast. Now he's going to lose it here because this group has a good head of steam.
And Pataska is out ahead of all these guys, right?
He is, but he's trying to get his speed up, and he's actually slipping the car around. We're right on board with him now. His teammate trying to give a little bit of a bump, get him some speed going. He is now playing the supporting role, is Christian Challoner, trying to see if he can get Dallas Pataska a Daytona 500 win.
They're not going to get up to speed quick enough, but the fact that Challoner was out with Pataska is definitely going to help him big time here.
Here they come. Nasir up to the high side through the tri-oval. They've got so much more speed. It's going to look easy. Lance Nasir back up to the front. Behind him, he's got Taft Baldwin still in tow, as well as another one of his teammates, Blake Reynolds. But Dallas Pataska does catch the tail of the train. He is certainly in this.
So now it's 5 cars that are in the mix. Then Challoner, who's a lap down, and then the guys trying to catch back up would be Liam Quinn back there in 6th.
Now Pataska's moved up high. Is he letting Challoner lead the way, maybe? Oh, but he misses out because the other kinetic cars behind them had themselves a nice little run and deny the opportunity.
I think that was the train of thought initially there to get Challoner ahead of him. But it's not going to make much difference because now Pataska's going to duck back in line and Challoner's out there by himself.
And actually Wade Hayes says it's the first car 1 lap down now.
Yeah. Not sure that that battle matters too much anymore.
Not with 20 to go, less than 20 to go. I think it's
a car behind them is having trouble. That was Jeff Stab now. Was he? He got bumped. He got bumped by an Alliance driver. That was Clement. As well as I think he got into the back of Pataska.
Big damage there on Clement because Thunhorst came into the back of him too. Big stack up there for the Alliance guys.
Well, that could have been another caution right there, but narrowly avoided. Whew. Oh man, that was a thunk. So what this has done, now that they've settled themselves out a little bit, it is still Nasir up front, followed by Baldwin, Smith, and Reynolds, but they've now got Wade Hayes, who is a lap down, carrying along the likes of Liam Quinn, who is in 5th, and J.D. Willis in 6th. So essentially, 6 cars vying for the win here in the final 17 laps.
The good news for Quinn is he's got his teammate Wade Hayes there, but Hayes doesn't care about winning because he's a lap down. So that's kind of an advantage.
But it's 2 versus 3. That's still 3 riding shotgun cars up in front of them.
But at least if he can give Hayes a push and they go to the outside, he doesn't have to worry about Hayes hanging him out to dry. Hayes will stay with him.
If he gives them a push and goes to the outside, I think that's when Eric Smith's going to jump on board and lead that train. Because he's got nothing to lose. He's right in the middle of, he's been right in the middle of the riding shotgun guys for the past 100 laps.
And we questioned, is V-Apex going to be a force? Well, Eric Smith, V-Apex driver in the number 32. So they find themselves with a potential winner on their team with the first oval race of the season. And I think they're going to get one more. Dallas Pataska getting the help from Christian Challoner. And he's going to go up to the high side. Ooh, here comes another one. That's Liam Quinn. And it is a kinetic train coming up top. They're going to get balked. That's Blake Reynolds trying to move up high, but he ducks back down low.
Reynolds back up high. Be interested to see if the other riding shotgun guys go up there with Reynolds. I don't think they're going to have room.
The Apex driver's going to try. We could see 3 wide, though. And it's Reynolds stuck in the horrible spot, the sucker hole. The number 1, though, lucks out because the kinetic driver behind him decides it's better to keep it too wide for now. But now Eric Smith, the lead car on the high side, trying to challenge the likes of Nasir. Those team tactics getting ever more interesting, especially with the likes of the number 32 thrown into the mix.
How about J.D. Willis sitting the first car in line on the bottom behind the 2 riding shotgun guys up front? He might be in a good position too if the 409 and the 5 try to go up high to help their teammate Blake Reynolds.
All right, Hayes falls. Oh, my. Oh, Pataska saves it.
And Reynolds ducks back down low. Eric Smith hung out on the high side. Has no friends. And there, you talked about nothing to lose going to the high side. Well, the big thing to lose is you got no teammates.
Now Hayes, who's a lap down, fell to the back behind Quinn. So he can be the pusher.
And here's what's fascinating. I don't think they ever caught that lapped group, did they?
That's a good point. Yeah, they're by, I think.
I think they must have passed him as this group was still collecting together, yeah. Because there was so many different laps at everybody pit, they must have each kind of passed them one by one. I mean, down to 10 to go very soon. Your order for the top group: Nasir, Baldwin, Willis, Reynolds, Pataska for your top 5. But they've also got Quinn and Smith in this group fighting for the win.
The blue 73 is Challoner. He doesn't count. And the 33 of Hayes, he's a lap down as well.
Out of turn 4 they come. Seen a little bit of a poke out by one of the riding shotgun cars. That was Baldwin. The number 5 doesn't have his teammate behind him. Reynolds and he separated by Willis. How about that group of kinetic cars back there, though? You gotta think that with them all together, without someone separating them, something's gonna happen soon. The question is, what lap do they make their move?
Yeah, I think it's definitely too soon now. It depends. They might be able to get Christian Challoner, honestly, to go with them, because why not?
Well, Challoner's also kinetic.
Yeah.
And at this point, his only role is to try and help anybody on his team get a little bit of steam.
Yeah, there's no way Blake Reynolds lets that guys have a run. As soon as those guys get a run, look for the number 1 to go top and put a stop to it and see if he can get to the front that way.
10 laps to go now. The 409 still up at the front. The Canadian driver looking to dupe all the Americans in this race and take a victory here at one of the most prestigious American oval races in the world. have lap traffic, which actually hits the wall up ahead of them. Who
Samuel
was that?
Roush. Sam Roush.
He's able to.
Okay.
Yeah, he collects it. That was really scary for a moment, though.
Down to 9 to go. Still too early, in my opinion, for these guys in the back to start making a move, but I don't know.
Put yourself in one of the kinetic cars. What lap would you go, Nick?
I'm thinking as late as 197, 198. I mean, you really don't want to. It depends on what Pataska does as well, too. He's just kind of a sitting duck there in the middle.
No green, white checker. I got to go almost now.
That is a good point.
We haven't considered that. This race ends if we have a caution with 4 to go or less.
There goes Pataska. Not quite.
Nope. We were riding on board with the lone V Apex car. That's Eric Smith, the tail of the train. The only person up there with no friends. And again, if we have a caution on the final lap, if the white flag flies, there are no, if the yellow flies, then the cars don't have to slow down. They can race to the checkers. Woo! It is getting awful dark out here now. 7:30 in the evening. If this was the appropriate time of year in the virtual world, unfortunately it's set for May, I'd say we would have the lights on. 7 to go now. Nasir still ahead of Baldwin, still ahead of Willis. We've still got the riding shotgun cars split up. Now, actually, what team is Nasir, or excuse me, is Willis on?
He's a privateer.
He's an independent. So I misspoke earlier. There's 2 cars without friends up there.
Well, maybe those 2 can become friends.
I was thinking the same thing. That's what I would be doing. But I don't think the number 362 wants to give away 3rd position in line. That's a very good spot to be in. 6 laps to go down the super stretch. Still 7 cars up at the front. And they are not going to be caught by the second group. It is a whole nearly 8 seconds back to Darwin Meents.
Coming to 5 to go. I don't think anyone's in the business of making friends right now. I think it's put everything forth right now. But these teams, they're going to make it very interesting. And I agree with what Soup said earlier. I think now's the time to go. No green, white checkered. No overtime here. You just got to go for it, I think, right now.
So who's going to do it?
Challenger is kinetic, right? Is that what we're saying on that?
Correct.
Yeah.
So I don't see any reason why he can't go to the top and see what happens. I mean, he's not racing for the win. Go on up there and then see if the 24 wants to come with you.
Those guys probably chatting away with whatever voice software that they're using. And look at this. We do have one person trying to go. That's Eric Smith. He's using a lapped car in the form of Brian McGreevy, but McGreevy decides to stay low as well. He keeps poking his nose up, hoping someone will ride with him, but nothing doing now. 4 to go. We are past the point of no return. A caution will end it. Whoever is leading is sitting in the catbird seat.
It's going to come off of turn 2. One of these laps, or turn 4 possibly. Off of turn 2 is the best spot to make a move. Wouldn't be surprised if we saw that on the next lap, if we saw Challenger duck out to the outside, or possibly even Pataska. Pataska's got to be thinking about who's in his mirror and who's going to be making a move. Looks like J.D. Willis starting to peek to the outside.
He's thinking about it, but he's got 2 riding shotgun cars in front of him. They're probably not going to play ball, and especially not the car behind him. Blake Reynolds holding back in 4th. 3 to go now. 500 miles. This race is an endurance one, if there ever was, here on the oval side. Whipping around at 200 miles an hour. around this 2.5 mile oval, and it comes down to this. We got a couple ducking up high.
I think they're going to leave Pataska alone. Maybe Reynolds will go with him. Maybe not. Pataska's
thinking
leaving
about
it all out there.
Now Willis goes. We've got a group. Challenger goes with them. 4 cars up to the high side. But as Willis finally gets a little bit of a run, back to his teammate he goes. Reynolds ducks down to 3rd in line. The number 362 starts to fall backwards. Dallas Pataska to his inside. No sympathy, no room at the end. He stays in line. Nasir still your leader with 2 to go. If they make it to the white flag, we are going all the way to the checkers. It's starting to get a little bit dicey behind them, though, as Willis continues to fall back. It is riding shotgun. 1, 2, 3. This is starting to look very familiar here at Daytona. White flag is out. We are going to finish under green. Nasir, still your leader. Baldwin, he runs in 2nd place. Blake Reynolds, last year's winner. He is in 3rd. He could pull a move. Dallas Pataska sitting at the head of the kinetic train, followed by Quinn, Hayes, and Challenger. Are they going to try and pull something? We come to the backstretch. This is where Nick predicted a move. They try to go to the high side. A little bit of a block from Blake Reynolds, but no momentum. Tries to go down low all the way to the yellow line. Pataska left out to dry. That is Liam Quinn with a bit of a run, but I'm not sure if it's going to be enough. They're staying in line. In the riding shotgun team, as they come up to the checkered flag, it's going to be Lance Nasir who takes the win here in round 2. Wow. I did not think that he would hold on to that all the way to the end. He put himself up front, and somehow the riding shotgun team managed to hold back the might of the kinetic force.
And a tip of the hat to the rest of the field that let us finish under green. Nice job, guys.
What a team effort there from riding shotgun. Just dominated the last handful of laps there perfectly.
And I think that was all according to plan. I have a feeling we're going to see a group photo at the end of this race. Riding shotgun, very proud of themselves. Whatever they take, oval wins. But this is going to take us to break here on the Global SimRacing Channel. After a long green flag run for the second half here at Daytona, we deserve a little bit of catching our breath. Stick around, though, because we'll have driver interviews after this, as well as the unofficial results. And on screen, you're going to see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC. Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway. We just watched round 2 in the majors, the Americas region, and this was quite a race here for our first oval round in the majors, the 2019 season. But in the end, Lance Nasir takes his first victory here in the majors, leading a trio of riding shotgun drivers. Taft Baldwin, his teammate, follows him home. And last year's winner, Blake Reynolds, still takes a podium up here. Our current champion doing a good job to start his run towards a repeat here this year. Liam Quinn followed in 4th, the first of our kinetic drivers, followed by Pataska in P5. Started in 26th, did the 023. Incredible run. Eric Smith, he managed to get 6th place for V Apex, and JD Willis had to settle for 7th. Then we jump back to our second group behind them. That's Josh Cully taking 8th place. Wayne Hutchison finishes 9th. And Bill, it's Jeff Schmeier finishing 10th. I'm sure that makes you happy.
Lesson learned. Don't pay attention to the commentators. Darren Mintz comes home in 11th, just ahead of Eric Mickey. In the Baker's Dozen position, it's Matthew Thunhurst. Trevor Clement back there in 14th, ahead of Daniel Knight. Then Kinchlow is in the Sweet 16 position. Chris Pence after him. Kevin Hill in 18th. 19th and 20th go to Jeff Stabno and Wade Hayes. Nick?
Christian Challoner is going to finish 21st, the kinetic racer who was trapped a lap down all race long. Essentially, he starts his new job with JTG Daughtry's esports team on Tuesday, followed by Brian McGreevy in 22nd. Vincent Laherbiere saw him a lot up front early in this race, but fell back a lap down, finishes 23rd. Jason Miller, Bob Beltrami finishing 24th and 25th, followed by Brent McCoy, who was involved in a couple incidents, Andrew Oakey, Chuck Chambliss, Clark Archer, and Brian Halleck rounding out your top 30.
Then it's Rob Powers finishing in 31st, Alan Pajari 32nd. Brian Bennett a few laps down in 33rd position with Josh Kanata in 34th. Steve Driscoll comes home P35. Adam Lindgren in 36th, 6 laps down. And Sam Roush, I believe our only DNF for the day, potentially. He was 11 laps down. See if he took the checkered flag. He was 37th out of 37 starters. We have our winner ready to talk to us. Congratulations, Lance. First question I have for you, just to make sure that we've been saying it right, is it Nasir?
Yeah, it's Nasir.
Excellent. Wow, what a second half of the race. After the pit stops, the final stop, you found yourself in the lead. Now, was it team orders that they let you continue run it to the line? Or was this a complete fight with you and Baldwin and Reynolds?
No, it was, we were working together. I had the most tape on my car, so I kept it out front. And, yeah, we were just trying to win the race as a team.
I'd say you guys did that. You trounced to the podium. It looks like you guys have brought riding shotgun to the fore in the team's championship. Obviously, your team typically a little bit better on the oval side. Do you think you can continue this sort of performance over with the road stuff?
I hope to. We've been getting better on road of late, so hopefully it keeps up and we keep our speed.
Obviously, this is the second year that we've brought the entire world in for the majors. Is this your first season, 2019, with the majors, or were you with us last year?
No, this is my first full season.
Well, a 50% record is pretty impressive here in the majors. So winning only your second race, this is a good sign, sir. Justin, anybody you'd like to thank for your first Daytona 500?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Adam for letting me be the first international driver on riding shotgun motorsports. Houston Hammer for the setup, and just all my teammates for working together and just making it happen.
Well, again, congratulations. Phenomenal effort. I'd say you impressed us here in the booth.
Thanks.
That was Justin Nasir, the number 409, winning here today, and only his second race in the majors. Up next, I believe Bill is talking to Taft Baldwin. He took it home in second place.
Don't know what else to ask him there. Was there a thought of you taking the lead, pushing the issue there?
No, not really. We pretty much knew that if we kept the three of our cars together, and when Blake finally got behind us, if we just kept pushing, nobody was going to be able to come up and get the run. So we just kept pushing. We wanted the podium more than we wanted individual wins.
Communication on the pit stops. You guys knew when you were all coming in. Is that the plan?
Yeah, the plan was pit on this lap and don't crash.
There were some interesting issues. Well, I'll get you out of this one on a little bit of a team. See if we can pull the curtain back on the team workings here. How come Nazir doesn't get the wood paneling on the car?
He submitted in time. He's got the paint. I don't know what happened. It actually has the Canadian flag on it because Lance is our first international driver on riding shotgun.
All right, definitely. I just thought maybe that because he was north of the border, you guys weren't going to let him do that. But that's good. Glad to see you guys are opening it up there and not just Texas anymore. Congratulations on a great run for riding shotgun.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Half Baldwin, your second place finisher.
We have third place ready to talk to Nick. You better get used to talking to this guy. This is Blake Reynolds, finishing third here today.
An impressive run for Blake Reynolds, of course, like you said, they're finishing third, and he had to fight for it a bit, fell back all the way to the back there. Talk about that fight back up front and then getting hooked up with your team there at the end.
Yeah, originally I was up front and I fell back there just because I had to take a leak there on the first caution, but as like half the field did, I think, at one point in the race. But I went back there with all the ride shotgun cars. We had a little bit of trouble. I might have caused a caution there with Rob Powers coming back up through the field, but eventually we just changed our game plan. Instead of sticking all together, we were individually just trying to get to the front, and that ended up working. Me and Lance hooked up and eventually tapped, and we got that high side working. No other team was able to get it done, but I'm really proud of that. That showed how good that car was.
Yeah, it was a solid. Everyone on the whole riding shotgun team had amazing cars tonight. We saw that at the end. Did you think that you or Taft maybe had anything for Lance there at the end, or was it just a pure defensive move to keep the kinetic guys out from that podium?
I was playing more defense, especially with Dallas behind me, and I knew the kinetic guys were back there. I knew we were battling them for the team points, so I'm pretty sure Lance is on the Desperados, which is our junior team, but I think they actually might have more points than us today because I believe I was the only one, me and Clark, on the Outlaw team that was in this race. But yeah, the main goal was to play defense.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, your personal car setup looks great. I'm sure you're glad that Tuesday night is only 100 laps for you for sake of the bladder. It looks like you used tonight as great practice for that.
Yeah, this was actually an experimental setup that we'll be using for that night, I believe. This is made by Houston Hammer and Alan Bose. I got to thank, huge shout out to them for this setup. This is like the fastest thing I've had for Speed Weeks in a while.
All right, you looked fast tonight for sure. It'll be interesting to see if, no doubt, you'll be able to carry that speed over into Tuesday.
Yep. I was going to think so. I guess I'll thank Adam Young. You know, he's the man. He's commentates over here. You guys all know him. I'll thank Adam Young for just being the man that he is with Riding Shotgun Motorsports, and that's all I have.
All right, solid performance tonight from not only just Blake Reynolds here, but the entire Riding Shotgun team.
Absolutely. We're finally going to get to talk to a non-riding shotgun driver. That's Dallas Pataska. The 023 managed a top 5 here today, which I'm sure he would have loved the podium or even a win. But Dallas, we saw you come in partway through last season. You fared very well. This season, you've got a full campaign. This has got to be a good points haul at the least. That's got to be some consolation for you.
Oh yeah, for sure. Going into this race, you know, it's Daytona, so you always want to run good here, but at the same time, you got to be realistic. A lot of things can happen. It was a long race, but yeah, finishing good here is a big boost because it just creates a lot of momentum. If you can do good at Daytona and make it through there, well, you should be able to make it through anything else. So, looking forward to the rest of it.
Now, you race for Wyvern, and you had some kinetic friends up there. Was there any chatter between you and the kinetic team since there's some ties between those two?
I wish there was, but it wasn't in the cards today, unfortunately. But I don't know, maybe sometime down the road we'll get that straightened out and be able to make a stronger push to the end of the race there.
So coming into this race, there was incredible competition just to get into it in the first place with qualifying. You started well down the order. Once you were in, Did you spend a lot of time focusing on the setup? Because going from 26 to a top 5 is pretty darn impressive.
Oh yeah, for sure. On that note, I got to thank my teammate Christian and everybody else. Roush, got to thank Jason Miller over at One Up for we all kind of worked together and helped each other out as much as we could. But yeah, a lot of it was just being in the right place at the right time. I mean, everyone's so close on these anyway that it's really just about picking the right line at the right time. And luckily I did that enough to put myself in the top 5.
Excellent stuff. Well, congratulations on a good finish here in the second round. We look forward to seeing you at Sebring.
Thanks, guys.
Dallas Pataska, P5 out there today. Bill is going to talk to one last person. We've got 14th place, Trevor Clement, one of our Alliance drivers.
Trevor, you got a copy?
I got you, Bill. How's it going, man? Good race.
It was a good race. You got to be happy that at least it was clean.
Yeah, it was. It was fun. We had a shot. Didn't pan out, as often happens at Daytona, but it was a good race. I mean, it was really exciting. Hopefully, it was fun to watch.
Kind of hard to get in those lines. Kind of hard to get up any positions, huh?
Yeah, I mean, in the end, our car was fast enough to get there. Our last pit stop, we just got jumped by a couple guys behind us, and that ended up, doing us in when one of them made a mistake and kind of damaged me and Matt. But that's part of the Daytona.
So, how much communication actually goes on during the race? Do you guys talk much while you're racing?
Yeah, a lot. We had Jason working the box for us, and who's, he's invaluable. And Matt and Josh and I and Brian we're constantly talking and planning ahead, looking ahead, and what's.
Well, congratulations on finishing on the lead lap. Get some points. Good luck for you the rest of the way.
Thanks, Bill. Real quick, I just got to give a shout out to Josh Coley for providing the set, and Matt Thunhorse and Jason worked their butts off to give us a car that was really fast, and they deserved better results than that, but it's racing. So,
hey, we got plenty of season left. Good luck down the road.
Appreciate it.
That was Trevor Clement, the 14th place finisher, started 33rd. That's still quite a climb for him. And we're going to close up today. Big thank you to all the drivers for coming out and putting on a fantastic show out on the track. The skill level continues to impress me. And a thank you also to Mike Willett. He's one of the many members that helped herd all the cats that had to go out and race the race today. Mike and his team deserve huge, huge credit for making these races happen. Also, a big thank you to the majors for the charity that they handled this time. Again, that is the Houston SPCA. You can find them at houstonspca.org. Blake Reynolds, the one who nominated them to have donations go towards them. If you're a pet lover like me, definitely consider going and giving some to them. Also, thank you to iRacing for putting us on IESN. All 3 regions are on here in 2019, and deservedly so. This, in my opinion, is one of the best leagues out there on iRacing. The best around the world come together to try and prove themselves on such a variety of courses. Make sure and subscribe to IESN so that you can catch the whole season here in 2019. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts. You can see them listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to Eric Ekholm and June Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Amjad, Bill, Nick, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. If you head on over to our page over at GSRC, we also have a big red subscribe button of our own. Make sure and hit that so that you don't miss a moment on the Global Sim Racing Channel. The next race, as we mentioned, it is the 2 hours of Sebring in the Camel cars, the Nissan and the Audi. Those are fantastic excuse me, to watch. Lost it in my throat. Those two, and they will be Sunday, March 3rd at 7:45 p.m. Eastern. Before we get to that, we have plenty of camel racing here every Saturday if you want to get a glimpse of what they have in store. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.